Chapter 254 Devil God's Command. Chapter 254 Devil God's Command. The quicker the storm came, the faster it left. Now, a larger part of Chen Xiang's body was buried in the soil. Only from above was his chest revealed. He was also somewhat dizzy. "Little fool, quickly wake up, ha 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 ha, it's morning." Long Shui merrily started laughing. The southern wasteland was originally dark, however, now it was like clear sky after the storm. One could see the hot sun hanging in the sky, and they could also the blue sky, as well as the blossoming white clouds floating above. Fragrant air suddenly surged into the southern wasteland, and as Chen Xiang opened his eyes, he could not help but shout, "Where am I?" His body shook as he struggled out of the soil, before he saw himself standing on a high mountain, a recently formed mountain at that. He swallowed a few true elemental dawn and quickly recovered true qi he had consumed. More than an hour passed, said, and he had already recovered 80%. He released the vermilion bird firewings to look for a direction, then he fluttered them and quickly started flying. The terrain of the southern wasteland had already changed. Chen Xiang could no longer recognize any road. The forests no longer exist, but they would grow out later on. Because the altar had completely disappeared, not much of the devil qi was left now. The entire southern wasteland was originally sealed, but now it could once again see the light. The devil qi covering the southern wasteland, along with the destruction of the altar, instantly disappeared. In here, most of the devils were already dead. Soon, Chen Xiang found the hill where they had laid out the array. As it was in the periphery, which was far away from the altar, it wasn't affected by any destruction. From the sky, Chen Xiang looked at the few people on the hilltop. One was Hao Dongqing, another one was Yao Haixing, and the other three were all fourth-level true martial realm disciples from other sections. Chen Xiang descended from the sky, landed on the hilltop, laughed and said, "The altar is taken care of, now we do not need to worry. You brat is too strong. You actually came up with so much movement. I think the entire southern wasteland is gone." Hao Dongqing laughed and said. Chen Xiang arrived at the hall inside the hill, and he saw that everyone else was there. The movement was way too huge, and they already suspected it was Chen Xiang's work. This kind of power, in their opinion, was already equivalent to a Nirvana realm martial artist's, but Chen Xiang was only in the 5th level of the true martial realm. Hey, the energy inside the altar was rather strong, that's why there was so much movement. Chen Xiang laughed and said. Shui Xianxian took out a handkerchief as she wiped out the dust on Chen Xiang's face. Chen Xiang's whole body was covered in soil, and it was like he had just walked out of quagmire. "Brother, that means we are not in any danger anymore, right? These devil beasts and human devils are gone," Ling Yulan said. "Not sure. You obediently stay here." "Humph, these devil path ARDS only know how to hide. When it's time to leave, we will find them and kill them all, and we will let them know we, righteous sect disciples, are not so easy to bully. They even plotted against us and actually wanted to sacrifice this Missy." Ling Yulan became increasingly angry as she spoke. If she came know where the devil path disciples were hidden, she would have already taken out her giant sword and rushed out. Chen Xiang and Shui Xianxian showed a smile. Ling Yulan's character was hot like that, even though she was an Icewind Valley's disciple. "I thought that after the altar is destroyed, we could get out, but we have not seen the way out yet." Zhu Rong sighed. Their location was very close to the canyon, and yet the canyon had still not appeared. Everyone was also like that, because after the altar was destroyed, the changes in the southern wasteland were just too earth-shaking, and it made many of them think they could immediately go out. When Chen Xiang flew over, he also didn't see the canyon. He knew there was still an array in the southern wasteland, which was being manipulated by those OONS of the devil path. "You brat who has destroyed the altar, we will remember you." In the sky, a voice was suddenly transmitted, with a message that was directly conveyed to Chen Xiang and the others inside the hill. Devil G's command has been issued, you just wait for us. That sound once again came, which made everyone feel a little worried. Chen Xiang had destroyed the altar and removed a lot of devils, but now who exactly was speaking? Chen Xiang shook his head to the crowd, indicating he also didn't know whose sound it was. During this time, do not go out, continue to stay here. There is a large formation here, so this place is a lot safer. Chen Xiang said. Chen Xiang also rested for a while. These days, he was too tired from running about. That sound from a while ago should have come from the devil domain. Only if someone had blasphemed the devil G'd will the devil G'd's command be issued. It is something issued by the devil G'd's believers. There are many devil G'd's believers, and some of these devils have terrifying strength. You do not have to worry for now, because the devil domain's residents still can't come over. However, once the three realms converge, you will be in danger. The devil G'd's believers are a bunch of madmen. By you said. Chen Xiang nodded his head, closed his eyes and began resting. He was currently alone in a stone room. Others also knew he was tired, and they did not bother him at all. With a rapt attention, they just looked for any movements all around them. Since the altar was destroyed, it was very calm. Only a month was left before they could leave. Chen Xiang reckoned that these remaining devil sect's disciples were also like them, hiding somewhere. Once it was time to leave, many of them would go all out to compete. Although the devil sect disciples had arrived here 3 years ago, they could still not replace those who had died. Those who had signed up all had their portrait taken, and it was exactly for this kind of situation. After Chen Xiang had engulfed the true qi of the disciples of the beast martial sect and the proud sword sect, he had still not cultivated rather well, before engulfing a devil soul. Now in his private room, he was cultivating with a calm heart these days. He wanted to lay a solid foundation, so as not to leave hidden dangers for the future. By that time, it would be very troublesome for him. After entering into the 5th level of the true martial realm, he knew that those true elemental grains would not be so easy to light up in the future, and compared to the amount of true qi compressed in the true elemental grains in the past, it would require a lot more. There was no way he could just rely on true elemental dawn, and even though the building foundation dawn had very good effects, it would rather be wasted on him. It was still alright to use them when he was in the 2nd or 3rd level, but now that he was in the 5th level of the true martial realm, using them would only be a waste. If it was given to those 10th level mortal martial realm martial artists to use, maybe some of them could cultivate into the true martial realm. Chen Xiang decided that after he went back, he would sell the building foundation dawn in exchange for a large wealth, then leave to collect the other required herbs for the 5 elements true elemental dan. Only by relying on the 5 elements true elemental dawn could he quickly elevate his strength. He was now already in the 5th level of the true martial realm, and increasing his level so quickly all of a sudden was also not good. He decided to improve in other regards. He was thinking of getting a 5th level alchemist's token, then move on to learn weapon refinement, as well as get familiar with the spirit patterns. After learning the spiritual power, he knew the formidability of the spirit patterns. He already had an idea to carve spirit patterns on the Dan surface, but it was just that he was not yet proficient in spirit patterns, so it would still take time for him to learn. Roar. Suddenly, a deafening roar came over, which shook the entire hill. Chen Xiang's complexion changed. He knew some powerful beast had arrived. Chapter 255 Powerful Devil Beast. Chapter 255 Powerful Devil Beast. Many people inside the hill had been disturbed. One by one, they all came out to look. Chen Xiang rushed to the hilltop, and what he saw in front of him were collapsed trees along with a 3-headed giant wolf as big as an elephant, covered in black fur, and had huge fangs. It was charging towards the hill, as if it knew there were humans hiding inside the hill. Feeling the braving devil chi from the three-headed wolf coming in succession, it was evident that this beast was very formidable. While the three-headed wolf was still far in the distance, it suddenly opened its mouth, and a black chi suddenly broke out, along with an oppressive pressure. Chen Xiang hastily shouted, "Everyone hide, open the large formation!" Everyone also knew the three-headed wolf was very terrifying. As the three jaws full of sharp fangs were pointed towards the hill, black chi violently surged from its mouth, while the soaring evil chi frightened the H-E-L out of everyone. When the three-headed wolf appeared, Xue Xianxian and Ling Yulan had already completed the preparation to open the large formation. Seeing the three-headed wolf attacking, they immediately opened the large formation while everyone hid inside the hill. "Very strong, extreme state strength," Chen Xiang said with a dignified look. "Can't we deal with it if we fight together?" Yun Xiaodao asked in a surprised tone. He knew Chen Xiang was very formidable. Last time, he had seen with his own eyes how Chen Xiang blasted an elder of the 9th level of the true martial realm. Chen Xiang shook his head. "Devil beasts and humans are different, not to mention devil beast. Ordinary profound beasts too are all very formidable. Extreme state martial artists are also nevertheless the same. The 9th level true martial realm and extreme state are worlds apart. The beasts equivalent to humankind's true martial realm were called spirit beasts, and extreme state were called profound beasts. It was said that the profound beasts were able to speak, and there were some beasts which even cultivated some humankind martial techniques and were equally strong. The strength of the devil beast in front was equivalent to that of a profound beast. Moreover, it was also in possession of frightening devil chi. Not to mention it was a devil beast transformed from the mutated ancient three-headed wolf. It seems fleeing is our only option. Chen Xiang heaved a long sigh. If he wasn't forced, he wouldn't want to make everyone flee, because they would have to face the unknown dangers of the southern wasteland. Although the altar was destroyed, what was there in the depths of the southern wasteland, neither he nor anyone knew. In short, even if the altar was destroyed, it didn't mean that the southern wasteland was safe. Just looking at the rust, Hi+ing three-headed wolf, it was clear that there were a large number of frightening devil beasts hiding in here. Boom, boom, boom. 3 ear-piercing explosions suddenly rang, but it only caused the hill to shook a little. It was all because of the protection of the large formation, however. The energy of the large formation would be consumed sooner or later. This guy's attack is rather strong. In just a short span of time, half of the energy of the formation had been consumed. Just as Xue Xianxian finished speaking, yet another explosion rang, and the magnitude of the shock was rather large compared to before. Chen Xiang fiercely shouted, "Quickly to the tunnel, I'll stop this guy." Once again there was another attack, and it was again followed by 3 bangs. The top of the hill had already disappeared, and a very big dormer was opened in everybody's residence. They were almost finished with this attack. Everyone, in a neat and tidy manner, quickly entered the tunnel. Chen Xiang, after releasing vermilion bird firewings, suddenly leaped up into the sky and waved the azure dragon slaughtering devil blade towards that three-headed wolf from afar. An azure aura with a strong powerful chi flashed out from the azure dragon slaughtering devil blade, and struck the beast with hundreds of thousands of jin of impact. "Brother Xiang! Brother! Elder Brother Chen!" Suddenly, from below, many shouts came. They all knew Chen Xiang was going to block the three-headed wolf. "Don't talk nonsense, you quickly leave with the others, I'll handle it. Leave quickly!" Chen Xiang shouted. A while ago, his blade strike had struck on three-headed wolf, however, a layer of black mist suddenly appeared on its body, directly resisting that powerful blow. The three-headed wolf was much stronger than Chen Xiang had imagined. After 9 continuous blows from it, the large formation was broken off. Originally, when the formation was laid, Xue Xianxian and Ling Yulan had said that it could resist the attack of an extreme state martial artist for a while. Quickly leave. Chen Xiang started shouting, a hint of anger was evident in his voice. Although Xue Xianxian and the others were very reluctant, seeing Chen Xiang's furious appearance, they could only clench their teeth and step deep into the tunnel. Everyone's heart was heavy, they all knew that the three-headed wolf was very strong, and they were very worried about Chen Xiang. If they didn't enter the southern wasteland, many people would still misunderstand Chen Xiang. However, now all of them had nothing but admiration for Chen Xiang. They all held him in deep respect. To say Chen Xiang was a hero was not an exaggeration. What Chen Xiang had done after entering here was all for the entire Chenwu mainland. At the same time, the three-headed wolf opened its three huge jaws, forming three black energy B.A.L.S. filled with destruction. Two of which were shot towards that broken-off hilltop, but the other was shot towards Chen Xiang. Its speed was actually as fast as light, but although Chen Xiang was in the air, his speed was still fast as he fiercely swooped down, dodging that black ball filled with evil qi. After the hill was struck by the black ball, it only shook for a while, but after the second blow, it immediately disappeared. Only after taking such frightening attacks successively was the large formation completely destroyed. It could be seen how fearsome the large formation was, and Xue Xianxian and Ling Yulan laying out this kind of formation with their current strength was already good. Chen Xiang had just dodged the black ball, but he knew that with that kind of fearsome power, if he was a little bit slow a moment ago, he would have definitely been finished off. He was completely sure of it. Even if a 9th-level true martial realm martial artist was struck, he would instantly vanish in a puff of smoke. The three-headed wolf before his eyes was truly too fearsome. Long Xue, with her divine sense, knew that everyone was already deep inside the tunnel, so she told Chen Xiang, which made Chen Xiang suddenly heave a sigh of relief. "This guy seems to be coming at you," Long Xue said. "But why did he attack the hill?" Chen Xiang asked. "We have been concealing our whereabouts well. How did this guy find us?" Long Xue didn't have to answer, because they heard a grim laughter coming from far away. "Chen Xiang, don't think that if you hide here, we will not know. You have ruined our good work. We will definitely make all of you die here. This devil beast is from the ancient period and came from the devil domain, and just news of its appearance would make everyone cower in fear. You have already seen its strength a while ago." Ha ha! Hearing these words, Chen Xiang immediately understood. The three-headed wolf was intentionally released by them. Furthermore, it was being used by these devil sect disciples. At the moment, he couldn't help but start to worry. If there were many of this kind of beast, wouldn't it be very dangerous? "You cannot escape. You have underestimated us, ha ha," the man said while grinning, before entering the forest. The tunnel led to a very far-away forest. Now, Chen Xiang just wanted to lead the three-headed wolf away, lest the three-headed wolf attack them from the distance. Regarding Xue Xianxian and the others, he was not very much worried. As long as they all worked together against the enemy, their overall strength would be strong enough. The three-headed wolf wagged its tail. With its 6 huge red pupils, it was watching Chen Xiang, waiting for any of his movement. From time to time, it would lick its huge fangs with its black tongues. Seeing one of the tongues suddenly stretched out, Chen Xiang fiercely brandished his blade, and in the blink of an eye, he had already cleaved it 10 times, shooting out 10 powerful spiral qi. One after another, it landed on the black qi cover released by the three-headed wolf. Those 10 powerful spiral qi landed almost at the same time. As they blasted out with continuous impact, they even broke the qi cover of the three-headed wolf, before the remaining 2 powerful spiral qi struck on the middle of beast's head. The three-headed wolf suddenly let out a howl as it fiercely opened its 3 jaws. Very quickly, it gathered 3 black B.A.L.S. again and shot all of them at Chen Xiang. Chapter 256, Heart-Rending Strike. Chapter 256 Heart-Rending Strike. Chun Xiang had already landed on the ground, but after seeing the three black BALLs shot over, he immediately moved in a high speed. In a blink of an eye, he suddenly vanished as he dodged those three black BALLs that were as tall as him. The three black energy BALLs were as frightening as a meteorite. From far away, it shot directly close to the ground and drew out three deep ditches on the ground. That was close, Chen Xiang said in his heart. The three-headed wolf's attack was very frightening and very fast. He was worried whether or not he would be able to dodge the next time. He immediately started HI+ing in a specific direction. A moment ago, after his attack landed on the three-headed wolf, the three-headed wolf had become furious. The three-headed wolf, after seeing Chen Xiang instantly running far away, immediately took a step with those four huge limbs, before it quickly gave chase to Chen Xiang. Such a big beast's running speed was not slow at all. Its steps even shook the ground, causing slight tremors with roiling sound. However, it was too big after all, and even though its speed was fast, it still wasn't capable of matching Chen Xiang's speed. After seeing the three-headed wolf's attack from far away a moment ago, Chen Xiang thought that its speed was not too quick, and now the truth concurred with his guess. In the blink of an eye, Chen Xiang had crossed a high mountain, but what made Chen Xiang speechless was that the three-headed wolf was actually too lazy to climb. It just directly blew a sage at the foot of the mountain. Under the chase, the three-headed wolf attacked Chen Xiang many times, but every time, Chen Xiang dodged them. Nevertheless, after Chen Xiang dodged each of its attacks, he would be struck with a lingering fear, because he knew that if he slacked even a little bit, he would vanish in a puff of smoke. Is this guy planning to chase me to death? Humph, can still sense me. Chen Xiang snorted. He entered a lush forest and converged his breath while the three-headed was still far away. But in no time, it still found his location and directly chased him down. Once Chen Xiang was in sight, those three heads once again shot those three powerful and destructive black BALLs. This is not good. This guy is going to pester me to death. If this continues, I'll be hit sooner or later. You quickly think of a way to help me. Although Chen Xiang could lead the three-headed wolf up to this point, he himself still had to face perilous path. This scenario was rather dangerous. We are still thinking, you endure for a while. Su Meiyao said, her voice was also very solemn. After every black energy ball shot, this guy's strength will weaken. However, it has a huge reserve of devil qi in its body, and in order to consume it completely, at the very least, you need to make it shoot those black energy BALLs for a whole day. Chen Xiang ran in the forest, treading along a winded route, lest he would be easily hit by the three-headed wolf's attacks. One whole day? Chen Xiang complained in his heart. Little dragon, if you lend me your power, will it be enough? Chen Xiang asked. No idea, but if we tried it, then it will certainly be dangerous. It seems that this guy can only shoot these black energy BALLs as its attacks. As for defense, it only has that black qi cover. If you are closer to it, maybe it could not use those black BALLs to attack you because it will be afflicted too, Long Shui said. Chen Xiang had also thought of this, and now he was considering whether to give it a try or not. You can give it a try. This guy's weak point is its heart, as well as that consciousness controlling its soul. Isn't the breaking soul cut in the Dragon Slayer's 7 killing cut specializes in attacking the soul? You first destroy the consciousness in its soul, and afterwards, it will experience a burst of excruciating pain. By that time, use the heart-rending strike in the 7 killing cut to give a painful blow to the heart. By you said. Long Shui tenderly laughed and said, if you use the Azure Dragon slaughtering devil blade with my power, it will be a lot more stronger. You should be able to smoothly kill this guy. Chen Xiang already felt a warm heat flowing from his arm. Long Shui had already begun giving her power to Chen Xiang. As it flowed into his body, it entered his dantian and fused into the 5 elements true qi. Long Shui's true qi was very mystical. Chen Xiang could also not understand what this power was, which could very easily fuse with his 5 elements true qi, and also allow him to flexibly use, as if it was his own power. Long Shui had eaten no small amount of dawn, and she herself was a dragon. As for how much she has grown, Chen Xiang simply had no idea. He only knew her advantages were too many to count. Last time, he had only used her power for just 1 thrust, however, now she was infusing her power completely into his body, and he felt himself incomparably stronger. As Chen Xiang let out a howl, his body quivered. Along with the sudden disintegration of his clothes which revealed his strong muscles, a white dragon on his left arm was twinkling in white light, looking very peculiar. At this time, 3 black BALLs were once again shot over. Although Chen Xiang had obtained such a strong power, he didn't meet with the attack head-on. On the contrary, he leapt into the air and flipped past the 3 black BALLs, dodging the attacks. At the same time, he had arrived above the 3-headed wolf. The 3-headed wolf looked at Chen Xiang in the sky, but did not attack. In fact, a sliver of fear appeared in those 6 huge eyes on its 3 heads, because it felt a very intense dragon qi. Only those who had dragon blood flowing in their body could have such an imposing manner, and that was also what most beasts were afraid of. Seeing the 3-headed wolf below him was not attacking, Chen Xiang grabbed the opportunity. He clenched the blade hilt and operated the exercises. His divine sense suddenly surged into the blade body before he fiercely sent a slash below. Although separated by far, Chen Xiang could sense a divine sense congealed into a peculiar powerful qi after being shot from the blade tip. In a blink of an eye, it landed on the 3-headed wolf, easily piercing through the black qi cover as soon as it hit. At the same time the blow landed, the 3-headed wolf let out a furious howl, which was then followed by a desolate howl. It opened its 3 jaws, which simultaneously howled while also spewing out a genuine black fierce gale, blowing away the giant trees in front of it. Chen Xiang landed on the ground, mobilized a large part of his true qi and gathered it inside the blade body. A moment ago, he had used Soul Cruise, HI plus Ing Cut, a kind of soul attack, and now he was preparing to use the heart-rending strike to attack its heart. In the Dragon Slayer's 7 killing cut, these 2 strikes were rather silent, unlike those other attacks which generate rather large movements. If he didn't have Long Shui's aid, perhaps his Soul Cruise HI plus Ing Cut would have failed to pierce through the black qi cover, and even if it did pierce through, it would still have no way to struck its soul. Chen Xiang stood beside the 3-headed wolf, and as he closed his eyes, the azure dragon's slaughtering devil blade started absorbing his power in madness. In his front, 3 thumping things appeared. They were the 3 hearts of the 3-headed wolf. They were all linked together, but there was a layer of black mist enshrouding from the outside. Chen Xiang was surprised in his heart. He didn't expect that his divine sense would suddenly become so strong that he could directly see the situation inside the 3-headed wolf's body. Soon he realized it was all due to Long Shui's strength, and now he was extremely shocked by Long Shui's divine sense, because it could actually achieve this point. He finally understood why Long Shui's perception was so accurate. Chen Xiang could not only see those 3 giant beating hearts, he could also see a huge black crystal inside its huge body, storing energy. The larger the crystal, the more energy it could store, but as for humans, they store the true qi in their dantian by creating a transparent ball, constantly gathering and compressing the true qi. "Quick!" Long Shui shouted. "Once you kill this guy, its devil elemental nuclei is yours. After taking it, turn into a bird and fly away." A lot of power had been infused into the azure dragon's slaughtering devil blade, while the three-headed wolf was still growling in madness, suffering pain from the soul. A blade calmly and silently hacked down. This was the mystic of the heart-rending strike. Chen Xiang took a long deep breath. At this time, he heard a fled sound coming from inside the three-headed wolf's body. Suddenly, the three-headed wolf stopped roaring as it fell on the ground. It struggled for a bit before it ceased any movement. Chapter 257 Devil Elemental Nuclei. Chapter 257 Devil Elemental Nuclei. After the three-headed wolf was killed, Long Xue's power left his body, leaving a sudden jolt of pain throughout his body as he almost slumped on to the ground. He was left with not a least bit of strength. This was the serious aftereffects of using too much of Long Xue's power. He knew it was detrimental to his body, and if not as a last resort, he could not use Long Xue's power. Moreover, he also couldn't use it too frequently, or he would ruin his body. Stunned to do what? Quickly go and cut this guy's stomach, and take out the devil elemental nuclei from inside. Long Xue hastily shouted. At the moment, not to mention moving and cutting open the three-headed wolf's abdomen, Chen Xiang couldn't even raise his blade at all. I can't move. Chen Xiang powerlessly replied. Idiot, don't you have mana? Long Xue let out a tender snort. Chen Xiang shook his head with a wry smile. He had indeed forgotten that very fact. Although his body was sore and lacking in power, he still had divine sense, and he could still release mana. He operated the 9-turn Dragon God technique, transformed the divine sense into mana, and let it flow throughout his body. In this way, he could control his body through the mana. He first ate a white jade dan, before taking a true elemental dan. Only after he had eaten those did he floated over to the three-headed wolf. At this moment, he had recovered a lot. He took out the azure dragon's slaughtering devil blade, then slashed the three-headed wolf's huge body. The azure dragon's slaughtering devil blade was very sharp. It very easily cut open a big hole at the abdomen of the three-headed wolf, before those disgusting enthralls flushed out from the inside. Fortunately, Chen Xiang reacted rather quickly, or else he would have drowned in those enthralls. Very soon, a round black crystal as tall as him came into his view. Although it was black in color, it was exuding a rather pure aura. This was the embodied energy of the beast's innate cultivation talent, and it was very much the same as a human's true qi. Once this huge devil elemental beast nuclei came out, and after being exposed to the sunlight, its surface actually cracked open. Piece by piece, black hard SAELs fell off. On the inside, the crystal was rather white, to be precise, it was filled with white aura, containing huge energy which was rather incomparably pure. Quickly collect it and leave here. This guy's corpse is of no use, the devil qi is too dense. Long Xue urged. After Chen Xiang collected the huge devil elemental beast nuclei, he quickly left the place. On one side, he was running, while on the other, he was swallowing dawn. Does this thing have any use? Chen Xiang asked. Of course, this is in fact equivalent to a profound beast's core. You're asking if it's useful? This is the energy source of the three-headed wolf. With this thing, you can increase your true qi at much faster rate. Su Meiyao replied. Chen Xiang hid in a patch of a forest and rested for a whole day. After resting till he had almost recovered, he left the forest and returned back to that hill. Chen Xiang had guessed early, before the Devil Path sect entered here, the three-headed wolf had already been tampered with by the Deans. That was why these Devil Path disciples could control the three-headed wolf. That should be the case. These guys do not dare to capture two strong devil beasts, otherwise, these devil sect disciples would not be able to control them. That should be the extent of the devil sect disciples' control over the three-headed wolf. Bai Yu said. From another point of view, the southern wasteland can be considered as a treasure trove. There should be many kinds of fierce devil beasts. Chen Xiang lamented endlessly. If each beast had the devil elemental nuclei, and if they were all collected, one would absolutely make a fortune. Chen Xiang, while flying in the sky, saw a large group of humans on an empty plain. They were all his companions. Not good. Chen Xiang, with one glance, noticed that a lot among them had suffered injuries. At this moment, groups of devil beasts and human devils swoop upon them one by one. His companions were being surrounded by almost 100 devil sect disciples, controlling a bunch of attacking devil beasts and human devils. The injured were surrounded in the middle. Majority of the first or second level true martial realm disciples had suffered injuries, and the others were all attacking those suicidal devil beasts and human devils, pouncing over with all their might. Each and every one of them were all covered in black blood. They had bloodshot eyes, and it was evident that all of them were equally tired. Their surroundings were all littered with corpses, which had already begun stinking, yet there were still many human devil and beast devils surrounding them. At the moment they were very well aware that if this went on, they would be left with no strength to fight back anymore. Many white hairs of Ling Yulan were covered in black blood. She had not stopped waving the giant sword in her hand, and with each strike of her strike, she would behead a good several enemies. Chen Xiang started to frown tightly. From afar, he could see that those human devils and devil beasts were all relatively stronger, and even their numbers were too many to count. In that piece of plain, Xue Xianxian and the others were tightly surrounded. Those killing the most fiercely were Ling Yulan, Xue Xianxian, Hao Dongqing and Yun Xiaodao. They were the most violent people, especially Xue Xianxian. Usually, she would appear to be very gentle and quiet, like an otherworldly fairy, but the moment she began killing these devil beasts, she was like a goddess of slaughter, same as Ling Yulan, who wouldn't even bat an eye while killing her adversaries, yet appearing incomparably elegant. Lei Xiongling, Lei Zhong and Lian Mingdong had just entered the true martial realm not long ago, so they were already injured. Wu Qianqian, on the other hand, had released her powerful flames, creating a huge flame and forcing back those devil beasts who were thinking of surrounding them. Those human devils wore black robes, had a mask on their faces and dressed the same with those devil sect disciples. Although they were hidden among the crowd, Chen Xiang could still see who was who, and to his surprise, there were more than 90 devil sect disciples. Chen Xiang sneered as he fiercely landed from the sky. Although he had already retracted the vermilion bird firewings, his back was still basking in flames. He looked like a meteorite falling from the sky that had fiercely dropped down on the ground. He stepped on a devil sect disciple's shoulder, and when this kind of terrifying impact suddenly befell upon that devil sect disciple, it made him unable to react as he instantly became a meatloaf and sank into the ground. Chen Xiang was already within the depths of the thousands of devil beasts and human devils. When the other devil sect disciples saw Chen Xiang, they were all extremely shocked. In accordance to what they had seen, Chen Xiang should have been hunted down by the three-headed wolf, but now he was back. As for Xue Xianxian and the others, after seeing Chen Xiang had returned safely, all heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, they were all extremely excited, and their attacks suddenly turned even more intense, forcing those devil beasts and human devils surrounding them into continuous retreat. Chen Xiang landed on the ground, and from his body, intense flames burst out. Suddenly, the flames spread out, forcing those human devils and devil beasts to retreat a few steps back. None of them dared to touch his flames, otherwise they would all be burned to death. On his back, a pair of tens of zhang long vermilion bird firewing appeared as he grinningly said, "Devil path mongrels, try father's new move." As he spoke, he started rotating his body. The huge firewings, rotating in such a way, suddenly transformed into a tornado made of fire, and of very frightening flames at that. The king among the flames, the heavenly sun fire. While Chen Xiang rotated in madness, those firewings grew longer and longer, thereby turning the fire tornado bigger and bigger. In just a short moment, A good hundreds of devil beasts and human devils were drawn in and burned off inside the tornado. As for Chun Xiang, he was still releasing the vermilion bird true qi madly. Everyone, after seeing such a huge fire tornado suddenly appear, could not help but be shocked. They recognized Chun Xiang's flames, however. This trick of Chun Xiang was rather too frightening. To their astonishment, it was cruel as well as spectacular. Younger brother Chun is too abnormal. Once he arrived, he had actually killed so many. Zhu Rong exclaimed. Shui Xianxian, after being surprised, hastily shouted, "Those who have even a little bit of strength left should protect the injured. Pave a way through the enemies, let's quickly leave." Everyone knew that it was also more convenient for Chun Xiang, as he could draw in all the devil creatures in the huge tornado. Through that, he could annihilate these devil creatures in one fell swoop. Chapter 258, Foregone Conclusion. Chapter 258, Foregone Conclusion. If Chun Xiang had not stridden into the 5th level of the true martial realm, coupled with his vigorous true qi, he would also not dare to face these devil beasts and human devils in such a way. Chun Xiang released all of his true qi, which was comparable to someone in the 7th level true martial realm. The strongest among these devil sect disciples were in the 5th level. Furthermore, those stronger such as Wei Hongdao had been beheaded long ago. Because of Chun Xiang's sudden appearance, these devil sect disciples were sent into disarray. They had no time to pay attention to Shui Xianxian and the others, they were just thinking of escaping. However, they felt a powerful force pulling them as they were whirled off their feet and slowly pulling them into that huge flaming tornado. Chun Xiang cultivated in SHI+2. Furthermore, his divine soul had already entered the adolescent stage. God knows how powerful his divine sense was. With his divine sense, he could actually lock those devil sect disciples. Chun Xiang released the invisible and colorless universe true qi which binded those disciples, making them unable to escape or resist. Very soon, Shui Xianxian and the others had left the plane. Although a few devil sect disciples were controlling those devil beasts and human devils tried to attack them, the instant they swooped over, they were all sucked away, eventually being drawn into the ever-growing tornado of flame. After everyone went far enough, Chun Xiang let out a shout and released the Azure Dragon True Qi. It was the wooden attributed True Qi, with wind and lightning power, which made the tornado's wind force even more stronger and added lighting to the mighty tornado. At this moment, there were even flashes of lightning throughout it. Those human devils and devil beasts who were sucked into the tornado were teared apart by the wind, burnt by flames, and struck by lightning, all at the same time. It was like a purgatory, thus Chun Xiang gave it a suitable name, Purgatory Tornado. This tornado was growing until it reached 1,000 zhang high. It whirled there like a giant rotating mountain. This was the effect of Chun Xiang releasing both his Azure Dragon True Qi and the Vermilion Bird True Qi insanely. One should know, the move he had casted was based upon some essential principles of the Tai Chi subduing dragon exercise, especially this kind of suction force. It was very formidable. The plane was originally completely full of corpses, however, now these corpses had been sucked away by the purgatory tornado. After the devil sect disciples were locked in by the suction force, the power within all of their bodies turned chaotic, making them unable to use their strength. Their bodies were gradually being whittled away as they whirled inside the purgatory tornado. Shui Xianxian and the others, seeing from far away, had all their mouth agape one by one. Chun Xiang's strength was already beyond their imagination, although this kind of true qi had not reached the extreme state. However, Chun Xiang had rather casted a frightening martial technique. The power bursted out had rather made them feel shocked. The better the martial technique was, the more incisively the power of true qi could be unleashed. Moreover, it could allow one to transcend their normal strengths, and better use the true qi. Ling Yulan lightly sighed. Elder brother is truly formidable, I have to become stronger. Shui Xianxian nodded her head. We cannot drag him down. If it wasn't for him, we would have already been sacrificed. Everyone signed again and again with emotion. If not for Chen Xiang, they could not imagine what could have happened to them. It may not have been long before they were captured. In particular, those friends of Chen Xiang were feeling a great pressure. They have all been role models along with Chen Xiang, but now they found the difference between them and Chen Xiang was getting bigger and bigger. This made them all swear in their hearts that as soon as they returned, they would cultivate with all their effort and elevate their strength to catch up to him. Even Zhu Rong, this lazy guy, was also having such ideas, let alone the others. I heard once in a while, the righteous sects will hold a grand meeting. At that time, all the major sects will gather together for a grand compet. 1. Tian, it seems there is still some time left. Ling Yulan clenched her jade-like fists as she spoke. Zhu Rong laughed and said, "Yes, it is said the final victor will receive many rich rewards. This is once-in-a-century grand meeting. I will definitely be able to compete against elder brother in the grand meeting," Ling Yulan firmly said. Yun Xiaodao touched his nose and said, "Elder brother Chern has such a younger sister, I don't know whether it is a blessing or a curse." While Xue Xianxian was watching that spectacular fire tornado, a glint flashed through her pretty eyes. She tenderly laughed and said, "I also want to compete with Brother Xiang, however, for now we should take a step back. We are simply not in the same level." At this point everyone was stimulated, they all secretly inspired themselves. They needed to blossom with radiant splendor in the grand meeting, and at the very least close the wide gap between Chen Xiang and themselves. The plain had already been emptied of corpses. That being said, mournful wails still came out from inside the fire tornado one after another, so Chen Xiang kept on releasing his azure dragon and vermilion bird Tru Qi. After a while, finally finished. "Ha ha! We won!" The instant Chen Xiang started laughing, the fire tornado also disappeared. A large amount of white ash began falling down accompanying his laughter. This was all what was left after those devil beasts, human devils, and devil sect disciples were processed in the tornado. Looking at the man fluttering those huge fire wings while letting out heroic laughter, everyone felt extremely excited. One by one, people rushed over and burst into cheering and shouting. Chen Xiang landed on the ground. Seeing everyone was all right, he let loose a sigh of relief before Xue Xianxian threw herself into his embrace, hugging him tightly. Before, when she saw Chen Xiang risking himself to lure away the three-headed wolf, she was extremely worried. She had no idea what she would do if she lost Chen Xiang. "Xianxian, when you started killing you scared the S.H.I+T out of me." Chen Xiang mischievously laughed while touching Xue Xianxian's face. Chen Xiang was obviously aware Xue Xianxian being very worried about him. Xue Xianxian wiped her falling tears and revealed a smile capable of causing the downfall of nations. The danger had already passed. Everyone was also feeling relaxed. There were some who could not help but lie down on the ground while looking at the sky, and open their mouths to breath in the fresh air. Chen Xiang released a burst of water from his hands, wiping away the black blood stains on Ling Yulan's white hair, and helped her clean those eye-catching bloodstains. Xue Xianxian also liked Ling Yulan's beautiful white hairs very much. Xue Xianxian also helped in was Hi plus Ing Ling Yulan's hair, which made her feel warm in her heart. "Little rascal Yun, if you are that good to my sister as a brother, I will be relieved." Zhu Rong gave a contemptuous glance to Yun Xiaodao. Yun Xiaodao spat in response. "Pooh, how about you tell your younger sister to be gentler to me, that woman is a tigress. However, since you are her brother, this father is too lazy to manage her." Zhu Rong sighed, "You are so screwed. I'm going to tell everything you said word by word to my sister. That being said, you always boast you are extremely formidable. I didn't expect you to be afraid of a girl. You're really a coward, ha ha ha." Everyone overheard their conversation and also burst into laughter. It must be known that Zhu Rong and Yun Xiaodao were both disciples from the four major families of the extreme martial province. Moreover, they had also entered in the true martial realm at such a young age. This kind of ident 1. Tai was quite prominent in the Qinwu mainland, so their reputation was not small. With the waves of hearty laughter, the haze that had been enshrouding their hearts for past few days had been removed. The altar had been destroyed, all the devil sect disciples had been killed, and the majority of the devil beasts and human devils had been burnt to white ash. So long as any of the powerful beings in the depths didn't come out, they would all remain very safe in here. However, just in case, Chen Xiang and everyone else decided to choose a new place to stay. They quickly established a guarding point which could attack, defend, as well as allow them to escape quickly. If their preparations had not been adequate last time around, they could have been exterminated by the three-headed wolf. After a few days, the wounded were mostly recovered. In addition to a few sentries guarding the camp, others hid in the stone rooms inside the mountain to cultivate. After what they went through before, they all knew they were lacking a lot in personal strength. At this time, everyone had a single mindset to become stronger and were all incredibly diligent. Chapter 259, Paris.H.I. Plus in Golden Body. Chapter 259 Paris. H.I. Plus in Golden Body. Chen Xiang also spent nearly every day inside the stone room cultivating. But from time to time, he would go out and chat with everyone. He needed to grasp this time to consolidate his foundation. His strength had advanced by leaps and bounds in the southern wasteland, but haste made waste, and going too fast was not always good. Unknowingly, the time passed, and everything remained very calm. There would be occasional waves of cold wind blowing from the depths, but everyone were all same as they were in the past. Those who were sentry were patrolling as usual today, and those who were cultivating as usual. However, with the sudden arrival of a bizarre aura, everyone was disturbed. "Quickly take a look," one of the sentry at the hilltop exclaimed. A few disciples who came out of the caves quickly looked towards a giant mountain. The southern wasteland was currently surrounded by a giant mountain, like piercing through the heavens. Even Chen Xiang could not fly and leave this place. However, at this time that giant mountain gradually started turning transparent. 2 months have passed, said. Zhu Rong shouted in excitement. He had almost gone mad from staying in this place, now he could finally leave. The giant mountain disappeared, and the canyon through which they had entered once again appeared. Everyone became excited and burst into cheers. Finally we can leave this ghastly place. Yun Xiaodao laughed and directly jumped down. At this time, everyone gathered together and were all still very alert. This was a habit they had developed these days. All who had entered the southern wasteland made a great progress, especially in regards to their battle experience. While vigilant of their surrounding, everyone walked towards the canyon. Past the canyon, nothing had occurred, but there were more than a dozen people in front of the canyon entrance. They were all Tai OONS from the major righteous and devil sects in the Qinwu mainland. Seeing so many people coming out, these Tai OONS could not help but feel surprised. Although they had not entered, they felt the oncoming fluctuations from inside during these days they were outside. It had even made their heart jump, and some even shuddered with fear. They believed with this kind of premonition no one would come out. There were only 40 righteous disciples who had come out. Seeing this, an old man of the beast martial sect hastily asked, "Where are our disciples? Have you seen them?" The proud sword sect's dean also asked, "Quickly speak, why haven't my proud sword sect's disciples come out?" Both of their tones were not very polite and made Chen Xiang and the others feel very disgusted. Only Chen Xiang dismissively said, "All dead, they have been killed by this father." As those words of Chen Xiang came out, those Tai OONS all became extremely shocked. Even the deans of the devil sects were amazed. Lu Menger looked at Chen Xiang with a frown and with a look of blame in her eyes. Yet even more so, a very worried expression on her face. The same was true for Hua Xiangyue. Although both of them were rather silent, they were both extremely worried. What did you say? The dean of the proud sword sect had already begun lifting his palm. Just as he was about to slap down, Gu Dongchen coldly shouted, "You Jianglin, if you dare to make a move on him, I will destroy your proud sword sect." While speaking, Gu Dongchen's whole body glistened in golden aura. His body looked as if it has been carved out of gold, and that endless imposing manner pressing down on Chen Xiang and the others made it difficult for them to breathe. The ns from the other sects had a look of shock. They gazed at gold-like Gu Dongchen in astonishment. Those devil sect deans had an even more panic-stricken appearance. This is the Paris HI plus in golden body obtained by crossing the seventh tribulation of the Nirvana realm. I didn't expect the extreme martial sects dean to be so strong. He has already arrived at this level. Su Meiyao exclaimed. The proud sword sect's dean, Yu Jianglin, immediately retracted his arm. He knew he was not a match for Gu Dongchen. Gu Dongchen returned to his original appearance and coldly said, "I already warned you that if your sect disciples dare to make a move on Chen Xiang, I'll destroy your sect. Do you still want to ask what happened?" Although Yu Jianglin was harboring fire in his heart, he had not lost his reasoning. He knew there must be some reason behind it. Most likely their proud sword sect's disciples made the first move. If he continued asking, Chen Xiang would definitely announce that the proud sword sect's and the beast martial sect's disciples made the first move. Then Gu Dongchen would certainly go and exterminate the proud sword sect and the beast martial sect to fulfill his promise. After they came to learn of Gu Dongchen's true strength, they were all extremely afraid. Not to mention the elder courtyard of the extreme martial sect, Gu Dongchen alone could wipe them out. Yu Jiangling and the elder of the beast martial sect immediately turned around and flew away. They did not want to see their sects exterminated because of them. "Don't be too proud, our people have still not come out," a devil sect tyke OON said. There were a total of 5 devil sects, so there were 5 of them here. They were all extremely doubtful in their hearts, in accordance with their plans, and with the ambushes laid inside. Not even one of the righteous sect's disciples should have come out. Plus, their disciples should have opened the altar and communicated with the God of the devil domain. No need to wait, they have all been killed by me. Chen Xiang suddenly took out 10 or so heads and threw them down on the ground. His voice suddenly turned cold as he began narrating the things that had been conspired on the inside, and the earth-shaking conspiracy from the Devil Path disciples. Other disciples also nodded one by one to prove what Chen Xiang had said was indeed true. The more those righteous tyke OONs listened, the uglier and colder their complexions became. If this plan had come to fruition, the consequences were unimaginable. That great calamity had yet to arrive. If it did, then the Chenwu mainland would probably have been turned into a living purgatory in the human world. "Do you have anything else to say?" Gu Dongchen's complexion turned ugly. The same was true for other deans, because they had been mistaken about Devil Path sect and almost killed their own sect's disciples. Black smoke full of foul stench suddenly broke out from these devil sect deans. "It's poisonous!" Hua Xiangyue hastily shouted. She lightly brushed her jade-like palm and blew a gale, accompanied with a herb fragrance which went inside everyone's nose. "Those guys are running away." The kiss of the jade dragon was already clasped in Lu Menger's hands. Gu Dongchen let out a cold snort before his body was covered in golden light and he disappeared. "I'll make them pay." Chen Xiang took a glance at Hua Xiangyue. He found this cutesy, alluring woman's strength was rather marvelous. At the very least, she was also in Nirvana realm. Otherwise she would not have been so calm a moment ago. One must know she was facing several tyke OONs from the major Devil Path sections. After these tyke OONs came to know Chen Xiang had turned the tide and ruined the Devil Path's plan, all of them were extremely surprised. Chen Xiang had done a very meritorious deed. he had rescued the entire Chenwu mainland. In the end, this matter cannot be let loose to the public, lest the power inside was controlled by someone with evil intention. Gu Dongchen said. Hua Xiangyue nodded her head and arrived beside Chen Xiang. With her tender and soft beautiful hands, she touched Chen Xiang's handsome cheek and charmingly smiled. You are the reason our Danxiang Taiyuan's disciples could survive. How can I thank you? Seeing such a move from Hua Xiangyue, Lu Menjie, Shui Xianxian, Ling Yulan suddenly tenderly spat in their hearts. So be it, I'll give you 1,000 true elemental dawn. Hua Xiangyue tenderly smiled, and then handed a storage pouch to Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang took the storage pouch, with a serious look said, Senior, please note that I have a wife, and on another note, please do not casually make such an ambiguous move on me, so as not to mislead. Everyone heard Chen Ziyan speaking like that were suddenly stunned. Meanwhile Lu Menjie and Hua Xiangyue both cursed Chen Xiang in their hearts. He could actually be so shameless. They had been molested by Chen Xiang before, especially Lu Menjie. She was cheaply taken advantage by Chen Xiang. Shui Xianxian just let out a light chuckle. Hua Xiangyue lightly snorted. If there weren't so many people here, she definitely would have responded with a few sarcastic remarks. Chapter 260, Rewards of the Taik. O.O.O.Ns. Chapter 260, Rewards of the Taik. O.O.Ns. Regarding the generosity of Hua Xiangyue, everyone was feeling rather shocked. 1,000 true elemental dawn, that was worth 5 million crystal stones. This made those disciples secretly gulp down their saliva. Chen Xiang also didn't thank Hua Xiangyue. They had pretty good relations, so Hua Xiangyue did not say anything. Danxiang Taoyuan is really kind. Chen Xiang contemptuously glanced at the Taik. O.O.Ns. from the other sex. The look in his eyes was telling those deans, you're all cheapskates, the other person is a female and so generous. Only Chen Xiang, this kind of guy who kept on calling Gu Dongchen and the others as little martial nephews throughout the day, could toughen up in front of so many Taik. O.O.Ns. Seniors, a while ago you had already thanked me. A monetary reward is nothing, I'm already satisfied with the 1,000 true elemental dawn from Danxiang Taoyuan. Chen Xiang said, his face was briming with a strange smile. This is a profound fire crystal. You are an alchemist, this can purify your flames even further. I think you should be well aware of its advantages. Take it. Lu Menjie tenderly snorted before speaking. She then raised her jade-like hands as she threw a stone glittering in a fiery red light towards Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang quickly caught it. He was obviously aware of the formidability of the profound fire crystal. It was as precious as an earth-level spirit herb. Other Taik. O.O.Ns. were once again feeling extremely shocked. Lu Menjie was actually willing to gift this kind of thing to Chen Xiang. One must know the profound fire crystal's worth was the same as the 1,000 true elemental dawn. This reward comes from both the divine weapon Heavenly Empire and the Icewind Valley. Lu Menjie added another sentence before letting out another tender snort. Although Lu Menjie's tender snort appeared to be a normal response, Hua Xiangyue was a woman, and her intuition told her that there was definitely another layer of relation between Lu Menjie and Chen Xiang from that little clue. Chen Xiang mischievously laughed as he received the profound fire crystal. Two women could so generously give out such heavy rewards, which made the hearts of those male deans secretly bleed. The true martial sex Tang Yichao didn't speak anything with his sex 4 disciples, he just marched off, which made the other sex dean and disciples secretly hold him in contempt. Chen Xiang could understand Tang Yichao's mood. After all, several Nirvana realm martial artists from true martial sect had been slaughtered by him. Tang Yichao would kill himself before giving Chen Xiang anything, saying thank you was already quite good. Now, only the gentle and refined dean of the Lotus Island was left. He was called Lian Yingxiao. He smiled at Gu Dongchen before saying, Brother Gu, it must be a headache having such a disciple. While speaking, he took out a fist-sized ball. Seeing this, Hua Xiangyue suddenly gave a tender shout, "White Jade Lotus Seed!" The white jade lotus seed was on par with the H.E.L. Spirit GRA.SS. Both were sacred herbs which could bring the dead back to life, and regrow one's bones and flesh. Moreover, it was even rarer than the H.E.L. Spirit GRA.SS. After Lien Yingxiao handed it over to Chen Xiang, the dean took a glance at Lien Mingdong. Although it was only a glance, Chen Xiang still caught the complex look within his eyes, and he was sure that the Lotus Island's master had some relation with Lien Mingdong. "Brother Lien is truly generous, you even took out the soul of your island." Gu Dongchen laughed and said, "That is a given. If not for him, all my Lotus Island's disciples would have probably been killed. Moreover, from now on, we will have to fight with a bunch of ancient devils. Our sect will definitely be affected." Lien Yingxiao slightly smiled and said, "From what I see, you're afraid of being pressed down by a woman." Lu Menjie faintly smiled. She came in front of Xue Xianxian and Ling Yulan and caressed their heads. Chen Xiang gave a glance to Gu Dongchen, laughed and said, "Dean, I know our extreme martial sect has a shortage of resources, that's why you don't need to give me anything." Gu Dongchen was surprised for a moment. He secretly started cursing Chen Xiang. A while ago, Gu Dongchen was looking at these OONS with a gloating expression. However, now it was their turn. Although Chen Xiang stated it like that, he made it very clear that he wanted something. Chen Xiang had repeatedly asked for treasure from those OONS, which made other disciples become drenched in cold sweat. They were all afraid that Chen Xiang would rather anger these powerful old codgers and then slap to death. Chen Xiang knew these dean were all old codgers who had been alive for more than 10,000 years. They definitely had some sort of treasure which they could hand out. He smilingly looked at Gu Dongchen, trying to appear naive and innocent. The onlooking Gu Dongchen could not wait to beat Chen Xiang. Gu Dongchen had to bite the bullet and took out a small black bottle. As soon as he took it out, the temperature of the surroundings suddenly soared. Many profusely sweat from the sudden change in heat. "What is this?" Chen Xiang knew it was definitely marvelous. "During my sixth tribulation of Nirvana realm, it is the collected heavenly heart flame. It should be helpful to your flames," Gu Dongchen said. Lu Menjie and Lien Yingxiao both took in a deep breath. They knew the formidability of the heavenly heart flames, but had not expected Gu Dongchen to be capable of collecting it. This was indeed a top-tier, peculiar, unique treasure. Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu also said it was good stuff, so Chen Xiang reluctantly took it. Although only Chen Xiang obtained rewards from these deans, those other disciples felt it should be like this. After all, Chen Xiang was also their savior. They held nothing but gratitude in their hearts, so they didn't voice out to get anything. All disciples followed their respective deans and left. Gu Dongchen released the disc again, carrying Chen Xiang and the others before leaving. During the parting, Xue Xianxian and Ling Yulan both asked Chen Xiang to come and find them whenever he had time. They had stayed with Chen Xiang for so long that they were content for now. This also gave them chance to see the difference between them and Chen Xiang. "We survived and still have fortune left to come, haha." Chen Xiang laughed and said. He patted Yun Xiaodao's shoulder. "After we return, we will all be disciples of the King Martial Courtyard. We are the first batch." Everyone immediately got excited. Zhu Rong smiled and said, "We're also bronze disciples and silver warriors, however, we have also suffered a lot. First, those 3 months of special training, and then 2 months of suffering in that ghastly place. Don't be too excited, every 3 years there is an assessment in the King Martial Courtyard. Those who are unqualified will be kicked out," Gu Dongchen said with a slightly upturned mouth. This made everyone disappointed in their hearts. Although Lien Mingdong, Lei Xionglin and Lei Zhong had worse strength in this group, this gave them the opportunity to vastly improve. Moreover, they would obtain a ton of benefits. At the very least they had the opportunity to reside in the King Martial Courtyard for 3 years. As long as they grasped this good opportunity, they believed in the coming 3 years they would have improved enough to stay. Very soon, they arrived back at the extreme martial sect. During their time in the southern wasteland, many of them had very much missed their sect. At least in here, they didn't have to live every second and minute in fear. They didn't need to worry about those human devils and devil beasts every waking moment. After returning, all 10 of them did the exact same thing, and that was to get some good rest. In the southern wasteland, they couldn't get a good quantity or quality of sleep. Those true disciples of the extreme martial sect saw these 10 safely return, became secretly jealous in their hearts because these 10 would all obtain very rich rewards. If they had also gone at that time, then maybe right now. However, there was no pill for regret. Not only they did leave a bad impression on the dean and other elders of the sect, they were looked down upon by Chen Xiang and the others. Chapter 261 White Jade Lotus Seed. Chapter 261 White Jade Lotus Seed. Chen Xiang and the others, after relaxing for a few days, suddenly heard the extreme martial sect's gathering bell. Not only the true disciples were gathered, there were also the disciples above true martial realm. 100 or so people have gathered in a large courtyard inside the extreme martial sect's mysterious realm. Gu Dongchen first praised the bravery of Chen Xiang and the others, then personally gave them rewards. This was also the most exciting moment in particular for Zhu Rong. 1,000,000 crystal stones, 500 true elemental dawn, bronze disciples and silver warrior medals, as well as direct entry to the King Martial Courtyard without any assessment. This made many onlooking disciples extremely envious. Gu Dongchen too intentionally convened these disciples, ruthlessly made them envious and made them feel regret. After the gathering ended, Wu Keiming and Gu Dongchen entered a private room with Chen Xiang. Young martial uncle, this time you made my heart bleed too much. The heavenly heart flame was something I had collected a very long time ago. Gu Dongchen complainingly said. Chen Xiang pursed his lips and said, You bunch of good-for-nothings, you were almost hoodwinked by these devil path and also sent us to our deaths. If not for your martial uncles, my breakthrough at the critical moment, you cannot so leisurely sit here. Both Wu Keiming and Gu Dongchen could not say anything. If not for Chen Xiang, this freak, in the southern wasteland, perhaps now they would have been plunged into a bitter single. Both of them were very well aware of the fact that there were many powerful guys sealed in the southern wasteland. Young martial uncle, didn't you say you have building foundation dawn? Can't you sell some to me for a little less? Gu Dongchen asked. Chen Xiang gave a pout before raising his head high. Not a crystal stone less, 500,000 for one, buy or not, I don't care. The extreme martial sect's dean, a 7th tribulation nirvana realm martial artist, was someone whom Chen Xiang would not be afraid about not having crystal stones. If Gu Dongchen encountered such a person, he would have originally ruthlessly struck him down a couple of times. However, looking at his martial nephew's ident. He knew that Chen Xiang also gave a very reasonable price. If the building foundation dawn were taken for auction, and if he encountered someone with urgent need, it could be sold for a much higher price, not just 500,000 crystal stones. Gu Dongchen and Wu Keiming were both somewhat speechless, but now there was no other way. How many do you have? Wu Keiming asked. 40. You guys can only buy all of them at once, otherwise I will not sell them. Chen Xiang laughed and said. Young martial uncle, Zhu Rong, that fatty, I'm afraid is not as sinister as you, forget it, we will take it. Wu Keiming forcefully smiled and said. Do you want crystal stones or true elemental dawn? Gu Dongchen asked. True elemental dawn. Because some auction houses only accept the true elemental dawn, by the time he entered those, he would need to go and exchange for true elemental dawn, and that would definitely be very troublesome. The total worth was 20 million crystal stones, and exchanging them for true elemental dawn amounted to 4,000. Previously, Elder Dan had also taken out many true elemental dawn in one breath. Today, Gu Dongchen was also like that, and it was evident that in the hand of these NS there was a large amount of true elemental dawn. However, they intentionally let others feel the scarcity by only taking them out bit by bit. The dawn could be preserved for a very long time, and these 10,000 years old NS for so many years had certainly mulat a lot. After all, it was also an important resource for the development of the sect. When Chen Xiang returned to the extreme Dan King courtyard, he didn't find Elder Dan, and he also discovered that no one took care of his herb garden. This caused him to feel somewhat doubtful. Elder Dan very much cared about his herb garden, however, now that it was put aside, although it wouldn't really matter that much. It was just that the growth of the herbs would slow down a lot. Chen Xiang knocked on the door of Wu Qianqian. Wu Qianqian, since coming back, became very diligent. For several times, Chen Xiang went to find her, but she was focused on alchemy all the time, and it was the case even now. Qianqian, have you seen Elder Dan? Chen Xiang asked. No, I'm also looking for her. However, she had said that if I can't find her, then there is no need to look for her. It's very likely she had went into closed-door training. Wu Qianqian replied. Her whole body at the moment was drenched in fragrant perspiration, soaking her thin clothes, closely sticking along with her charming tender body. It was very eye-catching. Chen Xiang, from time to time, glanced at her bosom, which was met with a light spat as she covered her bosom quickly. I want to refine dawn. I think that I will be able to refine 4 dawn with one set of herbs very quickly, then from your hands, I can earn true elemental dawn. Chen Xiang laughed and said, Then increase your efforts. Your strength is already pretty good. However, there is still room for improvement. Don't always keep yourself occupied with alchemy, make sure to be uniform in every other aspects. Wu Qianqian nodded her head. Chen Xiang returned to the herb garden and diluted the golden dragon's saliva coalesced in the southern wasteland into the water, before watering the various rare herbs and flowers in the herb garden. Sister Meiyao, do you think the white jade lotus flower can be grown into a lotus? Chen Xiang suddenly thought of this and excitedly asked. No idea, but you can try. However, the white jade lotus seems to be grown in water, which is in the sea of the Lotus Island. Su Meiyao said. Chen Xiang hastily fetched a small pond in the herb garden and said, How to irrigate it? It was also his first time watering the herbs to make them grow. Directly pouring into the water was not enough, it would directly mix with water. Very easy. Just use your divine sense to wrap the golden dragon saliva, and then control it into the water. Afterwards, you just have to infuse it into the white jade lotus seed. Su Meiyao said. Chen Xiang placed that bead braving in white light into the water, before taking out a small bottle of golden dragon saliva. At the same time, he poured it into the water and wrapped it with his powerful divine sense, creating an invisible white Hi+ELD on the outer layer of the golden dragon saliva, isolating it from the water. This way, it could seep into the white jade lotus seed. If the white jade lotus seed could absorb it, then we could assume that it could be planted. If you had a lot of these, in the future, it will be very difficult for you to die. Su Meiyao tenderly laughed and said. Although it was in the water, Chen Xiang could sense the situation of the golden dragon saliva, and he could also see it being absorbed by the white jade lotus seed. This made him very excited. The HEL spirit GRAS, although a sacred healing herb, was still not good for planting, because it required death chi, while the effect of the white jade lotus seed was somewhat better than the HEL spirit GRAS, not to mention that it could also be planted. In this way, even if he had completely used up all of his HEL spirit GRAS, he still did not need to worry about sacred healing herbs. Chen Xiang now also had 100 building foundation dawn, but at the moment, he still didn't know how to use them. He still hadn't found the suitable candidates for nurturing, and Yun Xiaodao and the others had already eaten too many. Eating more would do more harm than good, and that would also make their foundation unstable. As for him, there was no obvious effect if he took them, and they would only be wasted. It seems I have to go to the Divine Weapon Heavenly Empire to find Sister Menger and sell a little to her. Chen Xiang thought he could ruthlessly dupe Lu Menger a little, and he secretly thought it was cool. He was not only planning to look for Lu Menger, he was also planning to go to Danxiang Taoyuan, however. He first wanted to see whether the white jade lotus seed could be planted or not. At the moment, it still could not be determined. Currently, he was also not sure when there would be any activity in the white jade lotus seed. Moreover, he had used just enough of the golden dragon saliva, and he still had some coalesced golden dragon saliva left. Looking at those azure profound trees, Chen Xiang decided to not ripen them first. He was not in need of the building foundation dawn at the moment. Moreover, he was also lacking in dawn, which could allow him to improve his cultivation a tad bit faster. For instance, the 5 elements true elemental dawn. Now he was still collecting the ingredients, and he was sure it would not take him too long before he could gather all the ingredients. By that time, as long as he had a stable foundation, he could immediately improve. Chapter 262, The Missing Genius. Chapter 262, The Missing Genius. The King Martial Courtyard in the extreme martial sect's mysterious realm. Although it was small, Yun Xiaodao and the others did not feel disappointed. On the contrary, they were rather excited. In their opinion, entering this King Martial Courtyard was an honor. Chen Xiang and the other 10 were all gathered here. As soon as he came, he saw Yun Xiaodao and Zhu Rong wearing 2 small medals on their chest, which was the clear proof of being a bronze disciple and silver warrior. Chen Xiang was unable to hold his laughter. It seems only the 2 of you can be high profile. As he glanced at the others, he discovered that the others were unlike them. This is what we got after busting our SES in the southern wasteland, and this is our honor. Yun Xiaodao replied as if he did not care at all and struck out his chest. Zhu Rong also proudly said, "While I have these 2 medals on the way," the others looked at me with different expressions in their eyes. Chen Xiang shook his head and smiled. "When you can get the golden casted medal, then show off again. With one glance, everyone will know that you guys are lazy." If it was someone who cultivated regularly, he would have already thrown it away. Yun Xiaodao let out a snort and said, "Can't I wear it on the first day of the King Martial Courtyard?" At this moment Gu Dongchen arrived. He was the chief of the King Martial Courtyard, and Chen Xiang and the others still didn't know in the end what was so special inside this courtyard. In Chen Xiang's eyes, for the dean to personally teach them martial skills, it didn't really amount to anything, but for the other disciples, it was a kind of a special treatment. Everyone, before going to the southern wasteland, were all trained by Gu Dongchen. Now they did not feel any need for formality. It was as if a junior was just facing his elder. They could speak and smile nonchalantly. During the 3 months of special training, our elder courtyard has list your strengths and weaknesses. Now I will arrange your cultivation in accordance with this aspect, and teach you martial skills. Gu Dongchen said. Everyone were suddenly thrilled inside their hearts. Before, the 3 months of special training was for them to survive in the southern wasteland, and at that time, they were more or less worried whether they could come back or not. But now, they were in the King Martial Courtyard for at least 3 years, and they could even get guidance from Gu Dongchen himself. There are 3 alchemists here, and to not affect your alchemy I have made a better arrangement for all of you. Gu Dongchen then looked at Chen Xiang and slightly smiled. Chen Xiang, you are now a lot stronger than the other 9, I also don't have too much time, that's why you will have to sacrifice your time. I will not personally guide you, the time saved will be spent on other disciples. Chen Xiang shrugged his shoulders as a look of, it was none of his business appeared on his face. His teacher was Huang Jintian, and the obtained inheritance could already make Gu Dongchen envious himself. Moreover, Gu Dongchen didn't really have anything to guide him. Gu Dongchen began to talk about some cultivation, but Chen Xiang was not interested in this. After yawning, he immediately left, and this caused Yun Xiaodao and the others to feel somewhat sorry, because Chen Xiang could not receive the guidance of Gu Dongchen. Chen Xiang walked out of the extreme martial sect's mysterious realm. He knew that in the future, he might rarely get a hold of Yun Xiaodao and the others. A while ago, he had heard of some of the plans of Gu Dongchen, and in his heart, he was secretly laughing, especially for Zhu Rong. Zhu Rong's time was heavily scheduled, and it would definitely be extremely arduous. Every day, staying in the extreme Dan King courtyard had caused him to feel bored. He roamed around in the martial courtyards one by one, yet he still failed to find any good seedlings. "What are you doing here? Quickly go sign up!" A man shouted at a group of people walking down the road. "Sign up for what?" A man asked somewhat confusedly. "Don't you know? 30 years ago, the missing genius with 3 pulses has returned. Moreover, he has advanced to the 7th level of the true martial realm. He now wants to rope in some people and go out for some experience, but first, those people would need to go through his assessment." That man replied. The group of people were all old, and they knew who that missing person was. After they heard of his return, they suddenly rejoiced and hastily followed along with that man. Genius that was missing for 30 years. Chen Xiang rubbed his chin as he also hastily followed along. He wanted to see who this person was. 3 pulses represented that one could cultivate 3 kinds of true qi. However, it required a rather good martial exercise, and only then would cultivating it be possible, otherwise it would be difficult to advance. The cultivation process was also very complicated. Take Chen Xiang for example. If he could control his true qi better, then regarding his strength, there was no need to speak of it anymore. This man was actually outside the extreme martial sect. Along the way, Chen Xiang also saw a lot of people. After hearing the news, all of them were Plusing because if they were selected, they would get a lot of dawn, and that was rather very attractive. "Senior brother, are you also going?" A man seeing Chen Xiang following everyone along immediately asked. Chen Xiang nodded his head and laughed, "Going to join in the fun." The man replied, "You'd better not go, this guy is the disciple of Elder Liu. He is also a high-level foster son of the Liu family." Chen Xiang frowned. The Liu family had migrated long ago and left the extreme martial province. The extreme martial sect's high-level figures also knew Liu family had colluded with the Devil Path. However, there was no evidence. That was why they could not do anything. The Liu family did not pose a threat to the extreme martial sect, so the extreme martial sect also put it aside. Furthermore, there were no important people in the extreme martial sect from the Liu family. "It doesn't matter. I have not offended him. Moreover, Liu family has done some things to me. Who doesn't know this? I only did what a normal person would have done." Chen Xiang pursed his lips and said. Although he said so, he had already done some preparation for that man. This time, he also wanted to take a look at that man's bottom line. 30 years ago, the man was indeed a genius, though he was probably not better than Chen Xiang. But at that time in the extreme martial sect, everyone knew his name. Liu Jie. He disappeared for 30 years. Where the L did he went? Chen Xiang, in his heart, was doubtful as he walked rather slowly. He was somewhat suspicious that the Liu family had been colluding with the Devil Path sects from a very long time ago. If this Liu Jie went inside these Devil Path sects, and now he came back again, then it might be a conspiracy of the Devil Path sect. If he had returned somewhat earlier or later, Chen Xiang wouldn't have such doubts, but now he had come after the Devil Path's plan in the southern wasteland failed. Chen Xiang could not help but become suspicious. Su Meiyao suddenly said, "You have to be careful, The Devil Path sect in the southern wasteland have suffered heavy losses, and if that guy, Lu Jie, really came back from the Devil Path sect, I'm afraid he has come for you. Chen Xiang certainly have thought of this, however. This was in the periphery of the extreme martial sect, and Chen Xiang also had nothing to worry about. It was inside a hotel on the 3rd floor. This time, outside the hotel, there were many people, and they were all waiting in line for their interview. People from inside kept on coming out, and all of them had a look of disappointment. There is indeed a 7th-level true martial realm martial artist. The true chi within his body are fire, lightning and gold respectively. 3 kinds of attribute, and they are also very pure and have overbearing true chi. Long Shui suddenly determined. Chen Xiang was now in the 5th level of the true martial realm. Not to mention 3 pulses martial artist, against a single pulse, he would not necessarily be victorious, but he would manage to be even against one. Although his true chi was very rich, his current cultivation level at the true martial realm was still inferior. One must know that the more the true chi was gathered, the higher the degree of compression would become. By observing his true chi, he does not appear to be from Devil Path. However, he doesn't really need to know Devil Path martial exercise, because just like you, your true chi is pure as well as rich, yet you can still use powerful devil technique. By you said. Chen Xiang didn't step into the hotel, turned around and left. He felt he must look for Wu Keiming, make him pay attention to this Lu Jie. He had just turned around, before a rather dull voice with a sliver of pride came. Since you have come, why leave? G.O. D knows from where the sound came. It was not very loud, yet everyone felt as if it rang inside their ears. This was the voice of Lu Jie. Chapter 263 Ghost Martial Technique. Chapter 263 Ghost Martial Technique. Hearing Lu Jie's voice, Chen Xiang was a bit surprised. While coming over, Chen Xiang had converged his breath, yet he was still sensed by Lu Jie. It was obvious that Lu Jie's divine sense was not on the weak side. Chen Xiang had not planned to meet with Lu Jie, so he pretended not to hear him. Rather, Chen Xiang just continued to walk, but immediately after from above, he heard the sound of a window opening, before a man jumped down from the 3rd floor of the hotel and stood in front of him. Lu Jie was garbed in a luxurious white robe and was holding a fan. He was very handsome with his sword-like eyebrows, long eyes and fair complexion. At the moment, he was sizing up Chen Xiang. Was it you who killed my master? Lu Jie dismissively asked. From the expression in eyes, not a sliver of anger could be seen. This caused Chen Xiang to feel strange. Originally at the entrance, there were many people standing, and all of them recognized Chen Xiang and Lu Jie. In many people's opinion, Lu Jie should be somewhat stronger than Chen Xiang. However, Lu Jie's master death in Chen Xiang's hands was well known to everyone, and Lu Jie hating Chen Xiang was also taken for granted. But now seeing Lu Jie looking so indifferent made everyone feel strange. Chen Xiang replied, "Yes, I killed him." Lu Jie slightly smiled. "My master has always been my target, and my teacher was killed by you, so now you are my target. Do you dare to have a bout with me?" The other party was in the 7th level of the true martial realm, 2 levels higher than Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang wouldn't take on this kind of stupid matter, because if he didn't use the Azure Dragon slaughtering devil blade, he would be a lot weaker. Moreover, he had just entered the 5th level of the true martial realm, and he was yet to fully familiarize himself with his current capability. "Not interested," Chen Xiang replied. Once these words came out, Lu Jie's complexion immediately changed. It turned a lot colder. Chen Xiang felt something was wrong. Just as he had this kind of feeling, he was invaded by a dangerous feeling. "Be careful!" Long Shui tenderly shouted, but it was too late. Chen Xiang only felt a power fiercely bombarding on his dantian, so as to make his body seem to be struck by a million of gene of power. Although he did not have the time to dodge, the true chi within his body automatically operated, and also most of the power was resisted by the black tortoise adamantal armor hiding under his skin. Chen Xiang, from the impact of the sudden invading power, retreated 2 steps. From the corners of his mouth, a trace of blood gradually flowed out and dripped on the ground. At the moment, his 5 zhong and 6 fu were all ruptured. Just a moment ago, he felt everything within his body was being pressed upon, as if it was being crushed. In just a blink of an eye, he was seriously injured. The true qi within his dantian was difficult to mobilize, because most of his meridians had been damaged. If he forcefully utilized true qi, it would only cause even more serious damage to his meridians. Chen Xiang clenched his fist. His line of sight was currently somewhat fuzzy, but it gradually recovered. Now, his complexion was somewhat pale, yet it was still full of anger. "What's the matter with you?" Lu Jie asked. Chen Xiang's whole body quivered. He found Lu Jie had been standing there with that fan in his hand, and yet he was able to release such a powerful attack. Not even the least bit of aura was leaked. The surrounding people were also giving a strange look to Chen Xiang. They only saw Chen Xiang retreat 2 steps a moment ago, and then blood suddenly overflowed from his mouth. "Lu Jie, I'll not let you off." Chen Xiang wiped the trace of blood on the corners of his mouth, before he spoke with an expressionless look, appearing very tranquil. If not for the fact that he himself was capable, perhaps he would have been crippled a moment ago. Lu Jie started out rather heavily. "Now do you want to compete with me?" Lu Jie once again slightly smiled. His smile was rather cunning. Chen Xiang knew Lu Jie must have used some powerful means to attack him, however, it was not seen by others. He himself did not see anything, and he knew that this kind of attack was definitely formidable. "No, I'm going to kill you," Chen Xiang coldly said. He had not even walked 2 steps, before he suffered a lightning-like kick, hitting him on the knees and causing him to kneel on one knee. Everyone was immediately shocked. All of them fiercely backed off as they realized something must have definitely occurred a moment ago, which caused Chen Xiang to speak out these kind of ruthless words. Lu Jie's face turned completely cold. Extreme martial sect's top youngest expert, good prestigious name. "I now want to make you kneel. I'd like to see what is your ability. Seriously, I hate your very face, I'm jealous of the fame you got, I want to destroy you. I'll use my strength to prove that I'm stronger than you." While speaking, Lu Jie grabbed Chen Xiang's hair, while his foot was on Chen Xiang's other knee. He intended to make Chen Xiang kneel on both legs. Chen Xiang was completely angry. He did not expect Lu Jie's thoughts would be so abnormal. Chen Xiang's arm suddenly turned incomparably fiery. This was the power lended to him by Long Shui. She too could not stand idly and watch. "Kneel down." Lu Jie raised his leg as he shouted with a grim voice. He vigorously kicked on Chen Xiang's other knee. In his opinion, Chen Xiang was already heavily injured and was not able to resist anymore. Chen Xiang's anger had reached the boiling point. His face turned very red as shocking slaughter qi overwhelmingly emerged at the hotel's entrance, sending many bystanders to involuntarily quiver. At this moment they felt as if they were in hell. They felt that the slaughter qi could seize their life at any moment. Chen Xiang had killed a lot. The evil creatures he had killed were rather difficult to count, so the slaughter qi he accu Mulat could even make those deans feel ashamed. Lu Jie, at this moment, was slightly astonished as he stared at Chen Xiang in dismay. On one knee, Chen Xiang burst into a roar. This roar was filled with anger like a dragon's roar, causing the entire hotel to slightly shook from its power. The roar echoed everywhere, and it was extremely terrifying. At the same time he let out that furious roar, Chen Xiang blasted out his fist like a thunderbolt, and it ruthlessly and quickly landed on the only visible part between Lu Jie's 2 legs. That crazy fist's strength suddenly surged into Lu Jie's body, and he was unable to endure it as he fiercely spewed out a mouthful of blood. After that terrifying strength entered Lu Jie's body, even undulations burst forth from his body with the fierce winds. In an instant, the place where Lu Jie stood was completely wrecked. With both of his hands covering the place in between his legs, Lu Jie trembled and retreated a few steps back. His complexion turned ashen, but there was more of a shock written all over his face. He himself was rather clear of the power Chen Xiang's fist had exuded from a moment ago. Either quickly get out, or continue to stay in the extreme martial sect. Whoever insult me must die. Chen Xiang's voice was filled with hate. It was sharp as a blade, bringing about a lingering fear to everyone nearby. Chen Xiang strided away. Although Long Xue's power was still there, he could not use it. His body had suffered serious injuries, yet he had still used Long Xue's great power, and this would make it difficult for him to recover. If he was even a tad bit more seriously injured, he would have been crippled. A while ago, that guy hit you with a fist in a very, very quick speed. Moreover, his attack was so quiet that when I discovered it, you have already been hit. Long Xue said. This kind of martial skill is very rare. Is it the legendary ghost martial technique? Su Meiyao doubtfully said. Chen Xiang returned to the extreme Dan King courtyard. He had ruthlessly punched the manhood of Lu Jie, yet he was only injured, nothing more. The power within his fist a moment ago was not at all weak, but it could be seen that Lu Jie's defense was also stronger. Chen Xiang knew that Lu Jie was a powerful enemy. Chapter 264 Black Tortoise External Strength Technique. Chapter 264 Black Tortoise External Strength Technique. After eating a piece of HEL Spirit GRA. Chen Xiang felt a lot better. However, his injuries were still very serious, which left him with no choice but to eat some more HEL Spirit GRA. To recover faster. Ghost martial technique? Chen Xiang felt that it was definitely something frightening. An invisible martial skill. A martial skill similar to a ghost, thus its name. However, this kind of ghost martial technique has already been lost with time. Its learning conditions are also very harsh. Su Meiyao said till here, before she burst into a strange laugh. Bai Yu let out a cold snort as she spoke. The ghost martial technique has always been learned by females. If a man insisted on learning it, the consequence could only be one in the end. That is the shriveling of his manhood. The corner of Chen Xiang's mouth fiercely twitched for a while. He suddenly understood why when he struck in between Lu Jie's legs, he didn't felt anything there. No wonder this guy is so abnormal. Chen Xiang slightly gasped. Although he had a high bounty on his head, many people were jealous of him. After all, his name was already well known throughout the entire Chenwu mainland, and many martial artists dreamed to be world famous. All of them had degrees of vanity. I want to kill this guy, I want to become strong. Chen Xiang fiercely pounded both his fists on the ground and ruthlessly shouted. Regarding the ghost martial technique, we don't know too much about it, but from looking at his attack, we discovered that the true qi he had used was very strong. From the start, he wanted to kill you, so he exhausted all his power. However, after it struck your body, the strength was less than in general, and because of your tough, powerful body and the black tortoise adamantal armor, your life was saved. Su Meiyao said. Although that scene when Chen Xiang got attacked was quite short, it was still clearly engraved in their mind, so they could perform such a detailed analysis. So you have to toughen up your body. If you use the universal true qi along with divine exercises, your strength should be comparable to his. But you still have to defend against his ghost martial technique. If he had attacked you again, you would have definitely died. Fortunately, that guy wanted to make you kneel down to him. Bai Yu said. A powerful body, it was rather easy to speak than to make it the truth. Just wanting to become stronger would not make him stronger. Currently, his immortal and devil body was at second level, however. He could not progress and reached a bottleneck. Not to mention in a short time, even if I have a long time, it's difficult to progress in my body cultivation. Chen Xiang heaved a deep sigh. Says who? When you had obtained the black tortoise adamantal armor last time, didn't you get a black tortoise external strength technique? By you said. Chen Xiang's eyes lit up. He had almost forgotten. At that time, he had given it to these two beauties to look over. The prerequisites are rather harsh. The first thing required is to have a second-level immortal and devil body. The second is to have an extremely large furnace, along with someone who is very proficient in controlling the flames. The third requires the cultivator to jump into the furnace and operate the cultivation method of the black tortoise external strength technique inside. The fourth is to be able to come out of the furnace alive. Su Meiyao said. The corner of Chen Xiang's eyes twitched. Wasn't this committing suicide? Jump into a furnace for tempering. What is he supposed to do if he got cooked alive? This is just the entry stage of the black tortoise external strength technique. According to aforementioned records, if the entry stage is accomplished, your second-level immortal and devil body would directly advance to 5th level. By you said. Listening to her tone, she very much supported the idea of Chen Xiang going through the tempering. The second-level immortal and devil body already made Chen Xiang extremely powerful, not to mention the 5th level. If his body was not in the 2nd level, he would not have been able to do so many things. For instance, fuse with the fire spirit, learn powerful divine exercises or devil techniques, all of which had very high requirements for the body. How long would it take? 3 days and 3 nights. This is just the entry stage. After the entry stage, you will need to gather other mixtures to temper your body. If it is the furnace, then ordinary molten iron would be enough. Listening to Su Meiyao's words, Chen Xiang's complexion turned pale. Molten iron. Jumping into it for refining, and that too for 3 days and nights. Chen Xiang would very much like to know who thought out this abnormal external strength technique. He would also like to ask whether this person had actually gone through this kind of body tempering. Chen Xiang shook his head. As long as it was any sane person, they would feel fear regarding these methods. I do not meet enough conditions, I don't have that big of a furnace, nor can I think of anyone to help me in tempering. Chen Xiang said with a wry smile. You absolutely meet enough. The divine weapon Heavenly Empire's Empress definitely has this kind of furnace. She is a grand refiner in regards to controlling flames. That is definitely not a problem. You have already seen her body, moreover you know each other's many confidential secret, she will definitely help. Su Meiyao let out an ambiguous tender laugh. From here, the divine weapon Heavenly Empire was somewhat distant. However, if he used the vermilion bird fire wings, he would be able to reach it quite soon. Moreover, from a long time ago, he had wanted to visit and take a look around. Lu Jie, I'll definitely kill you, even make you kneel before me. Chen Xiang became resolute in his heart, and decided to go to the divine weapon Heavenly Empire and go through the tempering. 2 days pass. Said and Chen Xiang had completely recovered. If not for him having the H.E.L.L. spirit GRS, he wouldn't know how long it would have taken him to recover. Moreover, Chen Xiang and Lu Jie's matter had already spread to the ears of many people. However, Chen Xiang had always been staying in the extreme Dan King courtyard. Those who wanted to find him could not find him. Wu Kaming and Gu Dongchen both knocked on the door, but it was only opened by Wu Qianqian. Wu Qianqian knew Chen Xiang was recovering inside the private room, that was why she did not bother to go. Regarding this, she had also been very concerned. These past 2 days, Yun Xiaodao and the others had all met with her to ask about Chen Xiang's situation. Chen Xiang, how are you? Wu Qianqian hadn't refined any dawn these past 2 days. She sat in the room waiting for Chen Xiang. From the information she had heard, Chen Xiang was spewing blood, and was almost forced to kneel down. She had a pretty good understanding regarding his strength. The fact that he vomited blood was evidence in itself that Chen Xiang had been seriously injured. Chen Xiang mischievously smiled. I'm all good now, I've recovered from my injuries. That guy hasn't left yet, right? Wu Qianqian saw Chen Xiang's mischievous smile and heaved a long sigh. That guy called Lu Jie challenged an elder yesterday and also defeated him, even though the elder was in the 8th level of the true martial realm. He was very strong. Both the dean and elder Wu attested to this. Chen Xiang was shocked in his heart. Lu Jie could fight with a 8th level true martial realm elder. He was sure his own fist was quite heavy, and with the aid of Long Xue's power, it was comparable with 7th level true martial realm, even though he had weakened the power at that time in order to not damage his own body. You want to kill him? Wu Qianqian asked in some worry. I'm definitely going to kill him. Whoever insults me must die. Chen Xiang coldly said as invisible slaughter qi suddenly overflowed from his body, making Wu Qianqian's whole body cold. If Dean and Elder Wu come to look for me, tell them I went to the Divine Weapon Heavenly Empire. Qianqian, you do not need to worry about me. As long as Lu Jie remains in the extreme martial sect for 10 days, I'll definitely send him to H.E.L.L. Chen Xiang threw out this sentence before he walked out of the Extreme Dan King courtyard. He quietly left the extreme martial sect and Tianmen City. Currently, there was still a 15 million crystal stones bounty on him. He must improve rather quickly to deal with this. After leaving the Tianmen City, Chen Xiang released the vermilion bird firewings and soared into the sky. He arrived above the clouds before he flew towards the Divine Weapon Heavenly Empire. It would probably take him 2 or so days to get there. If he had not strided into the 5th level of the true martial realm, it would have taken him even longer. After 2 days and 2 nights of uninterrupted flying, a rather huge city far away appeared in Chen Xiang's view. This was the largest of the Divine Weapon Heavenly Empire, the Divine Weapon City. Chapter 265, Refine Me. Chapter 265, Refine Me. Chen Xiang saw a blade and a sword erected at the entrance of the city, causing him to suddenly utter a cry of shock. Both the blade and the sword were rather huge. They were even higher than the city walls, and it seemed they were forged of iron. After entering the city, a rather bustling scene of the city came into Chen Xiang's view. Most of the store inside were selling weapons and armors. Moreover, he could also hear many sounds of hammering of iron. Because the refining of equipments required flames, there was a floor of refining on each of the store. This led to the rise of the entire city's temperature. The citizens here were very stu. All of them were tall, strong and very warm. But of course, no small number of people also came from other provinces. Majority of them came here to buy the appropriate weapon, or came to get the goods to sell in other provinces. East of the city was the Divine Weapon Palace, which was surrounded by red high walls. It was the same as the extreme martial sect and had many courtyards of various sizes. In the past, it used to be the Divine Weapon sect, the Divine Weapon Heavenly Empire's main organization. Inside there were not only disciples, there were also some officials who were responsible for dealing various things for the Divine Weapon Heavenly Empire. Just as Chen Xiang arrived at the entrance of the Divine Weapon Palace, he stopped and took out the token given to him by Lu Menger. I want to see your Empress, Chen Xiang dismissively said. He had easily arrived here since he had not encountered any kind of attack on the way. Wearing a straw hat, a big beard on his face, and also an eye patch covering one eye, made it harder for others to recognize him. Those guards at the main entrance, after seeing the token, did not dare to show the slightest bit of neglect, and had someone arranged to go with Chen Xiang. As far as they know, not many could have this token. If required, the token could be used to mobilize the army of the Divine Weapon Heavenly Empire. Having this token was also the proof of good relation with Lu Menger, and it was also the sign of her trust. These guards knew Shui Xianxian also had one. If Chen Xiang was familiar with the Divine Weapon Palace, he could also walk around with that token, but currently, he was not even aware of the meaning of the token. Chen Xiang followed that guard through courtyards one after another, and finally arrived at a very remote place. In front is Her Majesty's residence. I cannot go there, I don't dare to approach any closer. After speaking these words, the guard hurriedly left. In front, there was a very big courtyard, and Chen Xiang could even see a small mountain inside. At the same time, he could also smell the fragrance of flowers wafting from inside out. Indeed, it was the residence of a female. No one was around the large courtyard. It was rather quiet in here, and one could hear the cries of birds coming from the courtyard from time to time. Chen Xiang walked over. Originally, he had planned to directly go over the wall into the room and give Lu Menger a pleasant surprise. However, he didn't expect he would be sent into retreat by a powerful force. A very powerful formation was actually guarding the courtyard. Who? From inside the courtyard, yet cold and beautiful shout came out. It's me. Chen Xiang replied low-spiritedly. The door automatically opened. With a mischievous smile, Chen Xiang immediately walked inside. Just as he entered, the door was automatically closed, which made him secretly amazed. Lu Menger was actually lazy. After entering, a beautiful woman wearing a white longuette, leisurely sitting on the soft lawn, came into his view. Her eyebrows were twitching as she was observing a spirit pattern picture on a paper. At the moment, her pretty eyes were glistening strangely. This place was overflowing with the fragrance of flowers, as well as an intoxicating body fragrance of female. Seeing the elegant, refined and with bearing Lu Menger in front, Chen Xiang's heart fluttered. He could not help but think of various ambiguous things he had experienced with her inside his mind. This made his lower abdomen suddenly hot. Humph! Lu Menger, although she still hadn't seen Chen Xiang, still felt the bizarre temperature change in Chen Xiang's body, causing her to spat. Regarding Chen Xiang, this little rascal, she was already used to his demeanor. Lu Menger stood up and walked towards Chen Xiang. Feeling the fragrant wind blowing, Chen Xiang, who was in a daze, suddenly regained his senses as he mischievously laughed and said, "Sister Menger, I came to see you." "Right, where is Xianxian? Is she not together with you?" "I have sent her to the Icewind Valley. Both Xianxian and Yulan have the very same constant tuition, going there for her is very good." Lu Menger glared at Chen Xiang in resentment. With arms akimbo, she let out a tender snort before asking, "What is it? Quickly speak." Looking at that face that was as peerless and as beautiful as jade, Chen Xiang mischievously laughed. "Sister Menger, I truly came to see you and Xianxian, and I conveniently want your help too." Humph! Usually Lu Menger would have a cold, proud and attitude, but after encountering Chen Xiang, she was at her wits' end, and her real character was exposed. Chen Xiang scratched his head and laughed foolishly. "Sister Menger, aren't you going to ask me to sit down, then give me some tea or something?" "Pooh, you have some business with me, why should I serve you?" Lu Menger concluded that Chen Xiang came because of something. Although she herself and Xue Xianxian often told Chen Xiang to come here, they knew Chen Xiang's character. If he truly wanted to come, then he would have already arrived. Lu Menger directly sat down on the lawn and said, "Just sit down, you don't have anything to hurry about, but I'm very busy." Chen Xiang sat cross-legged on the ground. Looking at Lu Menger, he laughed and said, "Sister Menger, are you angry at me?" Lu Menger tenderly snorted and said, "Who dares to get angry with you? You made us, old tyke. OONS bleed so much. On the contrary, Hua Xiangyue, that seductress, only gave you a bit of dawn which didn't held any value." Chen Xiang was surprised for a moment. He suddenly felt Lu Menger seemed to be jealous and also interested in him. This made his heart suddenly palpitate as he felt some sort of inexplicable excitement. "Sister Menger, you are truly stupid. How could you send Yulan and Xianxian to the southern wasteland? That was too dangerous. Chen Xiang blamingly said. When Chen Xiang raised this matter, Lu Menjie suddenly got angry. With her tender finger, she ruthlessly poked on Chen Xiang's forehead as too tender blush could not help but emerge on her beautiful face. It is all because of you. I wouldn't have let them go, but Yulan, that girl actually said big rabbits. Since I didn't let her go, she kept on saying, humph, humph. Finally I also had no other options as I could only make Xianxian follow her along, lest anything went wrong with that thick-skinned girl. Ling Yulan's voice was full of complaint. It was all Chen Xiang's fault, and it was him who had taught Ling Yulan everything. Chen Xiang embarrassed. Singly started laughing. Cough, cough, Sister Menjie, I have 20 building foundation dawn. Does your divine weapon Heavenly Empire want it? If you want it, I can sell them to you. Lu Menjie was surprised first, before she hastily replied, I want it. Say your price. An evil smile appeared on Chen Xiang's face. Kiss me and I'll give you. Lu Menjie tenderly spat in response and said, Don't joke, quickly say the price. Suddenly, the smile on Chen Xiang's face disappeared. He solemnly said, I don't want money, I just want Sister Menjie to help me with something. Lu Menjie frowned tightly and asked, What is it? Speak what you need. Sister Menjie, do you have a big furnace? Lu Menjie nodded her head. I have. I usually use the big furnace for refining a large number of materials for refining equipment. Do you want me to help you refine something? Did you come to me for this trivial thing? Chen Xiang shook his head and said with a wry smile, I don't want you to refine something for me, rather, I want you to refine me. What? Lu Menjie suspected she had heard him wrong. Refine him? Was it not a suicidal act? Chapter 266, Jealousy. Chapter 266, Jealousy. Chen Xiang, seeing the slightly surprised appearance of Lu Menjie, handed her a beast skin. Lu Menjie's memory was excellent. She remembered when Chen Xiang obtained the black tortoise adamantal armor, this beast skin was inside, with the black tortoise external strength technique written on it. At that time, Chen Xiang wanted to give her a copy, but she had refused. As she opened it, those esoteric martial art method appeared in her view. Because it was a powerful divine exercise, her breath couldn't help but turn heavy as her chest heaved up and down. I didn't expect it to be so formidable. However, the requirements are considerably high. It actually requires second-level immortal and devil body. You should have not reached it yet. Lu Menjie said, according to her knowledge, the second-level immortal and devil body should be comparable to the body of an 8th or 9th level true martial realm martial artist. She had also reached that level in the past. After looking through the black tortoise external strength technique, Lu Menjie immediately understood why Chen Xiang came to look for her, but now she was considering whether she should help Chen Xiang or not. If refining him had some mishaps, then Chen Xiang would end up dying. I have already reached it, Chen Xiang said as he scratched his head while laughing. Lu Menjie's tender body quivered. With a look of disbelief, she glanced at Chen Xiang. Her slender and tender hand rushed over to Chen Xiang like lightning, grabbing a hold of Chen Xiang's wrist. She said in a soft voice, Don't resist, I'll check if you truly have the second-level immortal and devil body. If you have it, then I'll help you. Under normal circumstances, Lu Menjie could not see through Chen Xiang at all. If she didn't carefully probe Chen Xiang's body, in her eyes, Chen Xiang would be same as an ordinary man. As she let her divine sense enter Chen Xiang's body, she probed the strength of his body. If she hadn't done this, then she would have never noticed. However, the moment she did, she immediately discovered that Chen Xiang's body was far more stronger than she had imagined. Humph, you hide too well. Lu Menjie retracted her hand back. Chen Xiang mischievously laughed and said, Sister Menjie, I want to deal with a powerful guy. I want to quickly become powerful, that's why I can only take the risk. If I can successfully cross the first stage, in the future, it will be much simpler. But by that time, I still have to trouble Sister Menger. Lu Menger let out a light snort and said, "How come you did not go to look for Hua Xiangyue, that seductress? She is also very strong." Chen Xiang could not understand, after he had arrived here. He had never even mentioned Hua Xiangyue, yet Lu Menger had already spoke of her twice. "Sister Menger, when can we start? I'll give you 20 building foundation dawn as a compensation." "This compensation can't be considered low," Chen Xiang said. 20 building foundation dawn were naturally not low. What Lu Menger must do was very simple, and it was rather simpler than refining spirit equipment. She just have to look after the furnace and control the flames well, that was enough. "Follow me." Lu Menger carefully considered for some time, before deciding to help Chen Xiang. Even if Chen Xiang had not offered to give building foundation dawn, she would have still helped him. She wanted to obtain the building foundation dawn from Chen Xiang, because she must prepare before the great storm. She wanted to train many powerful disciples to consolidate their basic strength. She could feel Chen Xiang was good to her. Although he usually molested her, but it still brought both of them closer. "Sister Menger, to tell you the truth, my dean bought them from me. I sold it to him for 500,000 crystal stones for 1 dan. You are my Sister Menger, that is why I brought them along with me. If I have more in the future, I will give them to you." Chen Xiang smiled and said, "To women, using the materialistic attack was extremely effective. Take Elder Dan for instance, she was rather obedient now." While speaking, Chen Xiang took out 20 true elemental dawn and gave it to Lu Menger. "Chen Xiang, from where did you get so many building foundation dawn?" Lu Menger asked rather doubtfully. She took a look and found that these building foundation dawn were all of top-grade quality. Chen Xiang mischievously laughed. "If I said they were refined by me, will you believe?" "I don't believe," Lu Menger immediately replied. Accompanying Chen Xiang, they walked towards a hill in front. At the foot of this hill, there was a cave entrance. Chen Xiang just laughed. "In the future, when you see Elder Dan, ask her, then you'll know." Lu Menger still didn't believe. Rather, with jealousy in her tone, she asked, "How did you hook up with Hua Xiangyue, that seductress?" Chen Xiang pursed his lips. "Sister Menger, why do you care so much about this? Xian was not as tensed as you." A flush appeared on Lu Menger's pretty face. She herself didn't know why she was always concerned about this, but whenever she thought of Hua Xiangyue ambiguously touching Chen Xiang's cheek, she would always feel inexplicable uncomfortableness in her heart. "I'm worried for Xian. Are Yulan and Xian not enough for you?" Lu Menger said in a low voice. She was already aware of the feelings Ling Yulan had for Chen Xiang. She knew Ling Yulan would stay together with Chen Xiang sooner or later, and Shui Xian wouldn't be against it. On the contrary, she would just get very close with Ling Yulan. "How can it be enough? Unless Sister Menger also marries me." Chen Xiang touched his chin as he said with a grin. Lu Menger bit her lips, turned around and hit Chen Xiang's head. "You're joking in front of me, that's okay, but never ever say that in front of Xian and the others. Explain honestly, in the end, what is your relation with Hua Xiangyue? Although she is a very powerful woman, you brat have many means in hand. Hua Xiangyue getting closer with you is not impossible." Even Hua Xiangyue, an aloof Nirvana realm figure, didn't have any resistance towards Chen Xiang at all. "I came to know her in the secular world." Chen Xiang, one by one, lay it all about how he encountered Hua Xiangyue in the secular world. On hearing this, Lu Menger was very surprised. She didn't expect Hua Xiangyue to actually have such close relations to Chen Xiang. She knew Hua Xiangyue's status was not low, but at that time, that seductress actually let Chen Xiang, the little rascal who had not even entered the true marital realm, to look at her body. Moreover, it was also intentional. This woman's insight is actually so formidable. She had actually foreseen you'll have today's achievements. Xian Xian and Yulan were also not mistaken, and you were actually not tempted. Lu Menjie heaved a sigh. Chen Xiang asked, Sister Menjie, who the Hel? L is Hua Xiangyue. It seems she is responsible for managing Danxiang Taoyuan. Don't ask me, I too am not clear with things about her. Many years ago, she suddenly jumped out of nowhere, claiming to be a maid of the dean of the Danxiang Taoyuan. In her hands, she has the token of Danxiang Taoyuan's dean, and now she is responsible for dealing with many matters of Danxiang Taoyuan, as well as all those which were handled by the elders. Lu Menjie shook her head. Don't you regret not accepting her as your woman that time? Of course not. Now, whenever I want to make her my maid, it will be done. Chen Xiang proudly replied, although he was just joking. Who would believe it? Although that seductress is coquettish, she is extremely strong, at least in the Nirvana realm. Usually, she would have very little contact with other men, but why would she be so good to you? Lu Menjie said doubtfully. Chen Xiang also did not understand this, he just laughed and said, This is my charm, Sister Menjie, weren't you also impressed by my charm? Pa! Don't boast. Keep a little bit of your strength for screaming. You will definitely die from pain. Lu Menjie spat out a mouthful of saliva. As they walked into the cave, Chen Xiang felt a bizarre stifling heat coming from inside the cave, causing him to become rather tensed. Chapter 267, White Jade Dragon Cauldron. Chapter 267, White Jade Dragon Cauldron. After entering the belly of the mountain, a huge square furnace came into his view. It reached the top of the hill and exuded a continuous scorching hot aura. Although it was very common in appearance, it could be easily seen that this huge furnace was ancient. It's very big, Chen Xiang exclaimed. No need to use this for refining you. It would be too wasteful, I'd rather use this. Lu Menjie took out a four-legged furnace. It appeared to be made entirely out of white jade, but it was also very small. Chen Xiang looked at that little jade cauldron on Lu Menjie's palm and could not help but burst into laughter. Sister Menjie, are you kidding me? What can this little thing do? There's no way anything but my little finger can be refined in there. Lu Menjie glared at him and said, Inexperienced fellow. After Lu Menjie put the jade cauldron on the ground, her eyebrows knit together as a white light suddenly burst out of the jade cauldron. It started growing in size, before it became as high as a human, in the blink of an eye. Chen Xiang was suddenly dumbfounded. This jade cauldron could suddenly become many times larger. He knew this kind of mystical thing was definitely very rare. As if to confirm his suspicions, Su Meiyao soon tenderly shouted, This is the White Jade Dragon Cauldron. It is also made up of dragon jade, similar to your brilliant flame dragon furnace. This woman is truly marvelous. Otherwise, she would not have the vermilion bird tender thread along with this cauldron. Her parents must be famous figures in the heavenly realm. The White Jade Dragon Cauldron incorporates many rare materials. Due to this, the cauldron can become larger or smaller. The largest it should be able to become is the size of a hill. More than 10,000 years ago, it once appeared in the heavenly realm, setting off a sanguinary, but later there was no trace of it to be found anywhere. Long Shui was also very surprised. This White Jade Dragon Cauldron could be said to be better than your brilliant flame dragon furnace. Chen Xiang gulped mouthful of saliva and said in surprise, Sister Menjie, is this the White Jade Dragon Cauldron? At this time, Lu Menjie turned around in surprise as she hastily asked, How did you know? My mother and father told me that I absolutely can't reveal the name of this cauldron, otherwise it would bring a fatal disaster. Chen Xiang said softly, This cauldron should have set off a spree of plundering and murdering within the heavenly realm all those years ago. Was your kiss of the Jade Dragon also given to you by your parents? In the end, who are your parents? There actually are so formidable and even gave you so many good things. Lu Menjie also felt very confused regarding this matter. She shook her head. I don't know either. How do you know about this white jade dragon cauldron? The senior told me. Chen Xiang spread his hands and smiled. He had already told Lu Menger that he had obtained the guidance of a mysterious senior, which was why he knew about so many things. Lu Menger faintly sighed. Chen Xiang had also told her that he needed to keep the ident. 1. tie of this senior a secret, which was why she could not ask anything. When I refine equipment, this cauldron has aided me a lot. It allows me to do double the work with half the effort. Moreover, the refined materials are all much better. That being said, I rarely use it. Only when I want to refine something extremely powerful will I use it. Lu Menger made the white jade dragon cauldron turn a lot smaller. Afterwards, she placed pieces of iron in it, for Chen Xiang to soak in. Sister Menger, why was the weapon refined for Yulan not that good? In the southern wasteland, she was using a rundown blade, while Xianxian's weapon was quite good. Chen Xiang asked. Rest assured, I'll refine a good weapon for her. Do you think I'm biased like you? Only good to one person. Lu Menger said with a pouty face, which looked rather cute. The onlooking Chen Xiang very much wished to squeeze her face. When was I biased? I'm innocent. Chen Xiang spread his hands and asked. I'll not give you half of the adamantal crocodile python. Leave it alone so I can use it to forge Ling Yulan's weapon. Lu Menger made the white jade dragon cauldron become a lot bigger, before pressing one hand on the foot of the furnace. As she poured in the fire, a bunch of flames from her tender palm surged out, before the snow-white furnace suddenly turned fiery red. The iron pieces inside it melted, becoming molten iron in the blink of eye. Cut the CRAP, you must be well prepared. Going inside is not a joke. Lu Menger weakened the fire, then once again put in a few pieces of golden red stones. The molten iron inside suddenly started seething and broke out with scorching chi waves one after the other. Seeing this, Chen Xiang could not help but gulp a mouthful of saliva. This molten iron could really send fear into one's heart. Chen Xiang had already memorized the cultivation chanting formula. There was nothing to prepare for any more. He took a long deep breath, thinking of the insufficient strength he had, and the scene where he was almost forced to kneel down by Lu Jie. His blood boiled with anger, and he clenched his fist tightly. Chen Xiang off his clothes, which caused Lu Menger to suddenly utter a rather sharp scream and blush. She hastily flung her head and yelled, Little B, A, S, T, A, R, D, what the H, E, L are you doing? Chen Xiang grinned mischievously. Of course I'm undressing. Taking a bath while wearing clothes, is such a thing comfortable for you? Although the last time you unknowingly showed me your big rabbits, I know it is rather disadvantageous for a woman, that's why I'm paying you back. This way we're even. Lu Menger suddenly felt extreme shame and anger. She was red all the way up to her ears. She fiercely stamped her foot before tenderly shouting, Don't you fear I'll burn you to death? You little rascal, how can you always be this annoying? Chen Xiang fiercely took a jump and landed at the edge of the furnace. He looked at the golden-red molten iron below, and suddenly his hair stood up. He took few deep breaths and said with a wry smile, Sister Menger, you cannot bear to burn me to death. After Chen Xiang finished speaking, he jumped down into the cauldron. Just as Lu Menger wanted to say something, she heard Chen Xiang squealing like a pig getting butchered. Her complexion turned pale from fear. She hastily and tenderly shouted, Little rascal, are you all right? How are you feeling? If you cannot bear it, then quickly come out. Seeing this Blee and decorous beauty so concerned about him, Chen Xiang felt warmth. He felt there was nothing to fear and clenched his teeth before saying, I'm all right. In order to become strong, I'm ready to bear any kind of pain. Sister Menger, increase the temperature, it is not high enough. I'm exercising the skill, but it is not working. Lu Menger nibbled her red lips. She also didn't know why she felt pain in her heart. She increased the fire, which made the special molten iron in the furnace fiercely start seething. Meanwhile, Chen Xiang burst into bellowing bray which made her heart secretly throb with pain. Why do I always accompany this little rascal in doing something crazy? Lu Menjur asked herself. Her nibbled lips were about to bleed from the constant pressure. Listen up, you little rascal. I'm going to mobilize the bizarre formation inside the white jade dragon cauldron to increase your flow of time. On the outside, it will be only 3 hours for me, but it will be 3 days for you. However, I must cover the lid. If anything goes wrong, tell me immediately using your divine sense. Lu Menjur said. She found that after hearing those painful screams from Chen Xiang, she could not calm herself down. If she could not control flame well due to her flaring emotions, Chen Xiang would fail in his cultivation. All right, hurry. Chen Xiang found the temperature inside rather unstable, and he had yet not successfully exercised the skill. After the lid was covered, the mountain belly suddenly quieted down. However, Lu Menjur's heart was still not calm. She was extremely worried about Chen Xiang, but just a moment ago she could see Chen Xiang's desire for power. This was the way Chen Xiang could steadily achieve the power he desired. She had to do her best to help him. Chapter 268 5th Level Immortal and Devil Body. Chapter 268 5th Level Immortal and Devil Body. Inside the white jade dragon cauldron, Chen Xiang kept on howling in pain without stopping. At this point, the temperature had already been stabilized, and as he operated the exercise, the true qi revolved in accordance with the specified circulation in his meridians. The molten iron stimulated his body, giving birth to a peculiar energy that appeared in his bones and muscles. It was a kind of golden energy that directly fused with his muscles. Chen Xiang had experienced endless pain, and the idea of giving up had appeared many times in his heart. But whenever he thought of Lu Jie wanting to trample on his dignity, determination stemming from anger arose in his heart, making him persist on enduring. I absolutely cannot give up. Chen Xiang wrathfully pounded his fists on the furnace, bursting off with bang-bang sounds. Little rascal, do you want to come out? Lu Menjur asked with her divine sense. No. Chen Xiang immediately replied. The true qi within his body has already started revolving and entered an excited state. Although he was enduring the pain, he felt his body transforming bit by bit, and this made him incomparably refreshed. If he was successful, he would acquire the 5th level immortal and devil body. If exchanged with an extreme state's body, it would not be as formidable as him. In other words, his defense in the future would become even more formidable. During the refinement process, Chen Xiang had already controlled the black tortoise adamantal armor into not resisting the scorching heat, otherwise there would be no point in jumping inside the furnace. After an hour pause, said, Lu Menjur once again asked Chen Xiang whether he wanted to leave or not, but after discovering that Chen Xiang could still answer, she heaved a sigh of relief. Although only an hour had passed, said on the outside, within the furnace, a whole day had already passed, said by while her true qi and divine sense kept on being drained. Plusing the time formation required a lot of her strength. After all, there was a living person inside. For this kind of perverse actions of Chen Xiang, Lu Menjur knew she could not use common sense to deal with it. Chen Xiang was only just a few levels into the true martial realm, yet he had tempered his body into the 2nd level of the immortal and devil body, which was extremely difficult, and after the refinement, he would have the 5th level immortal and devil body, which was even more astounding. There was not a moment when Lu Menjur was not worried about Chen Xiang's life. She decided not to do this kind of crazy stuff together with Chen Xiang ever again, because this kind of worry was unprecedented for her. She was worried Chen Xiang would die, and thinking of the smiling little rascal leaving her, her heart suddenly felt a throbbing pain. As Chen Xiang cultivated in accordance with the black tortoise external strength technique, he only felt the strength of his body soaring. He had never felt like this before. In just a short 3 days, He felt his own body was several times stronger than 3 days ago. Although he had advanced by only 3 levels, each additional stage of the immortal and devil body was pretty much different. It was like the difference between heaven and earth. Of course, only 3 hours had passed, said on the outside. In these 3 hours, Lu Menjie was worried to death. She suddenly felt her own feelings for Chen Xiang, those vague feelings, becoming clearer and clearer, but she neither dared to admit nor dare to face this fact. She heaved a complex sigh and scolded, "With what kind of sweet talk? Did this little rascal really bewitch me? In the future, I must avoid him. Sister Menjie, I can come out." Lu Menjie suddenly heard Chen Xiang shouting with his divine sense, so she hurriedly retracted the flames. As she opened the lid, she saw Chen Xiang leisurely lying on the inside, simply as if there was no molten iron inside, and as if he was just enjoying in the hot springs. "Little rascal, are you successful?" Lu Menjie shouted in astonishment. Although she was surprised, she was rather joyful. "Successful, but currently my whole body is aching. Sister Menjie, you have to sage me, anyways, you have to help me," Chen Xiang grinningly said. As he crawled out of the white jade dragon cauldron, Lu Menjie immediately turned her head and tenderly spat, "Little rascal, someday I'll make you look good." Chen Xiang dressed himself, grinned and said, "Sister Menjie, thanks a lot. Can I kiss you as thanks?" "Pooh, no wonder you are successful. Your facial skin is so thick that you are not even afraid of molten iron." Lu Menjie scoffed and said. She walked over, and with her delicate and beautiful hands, she fiercely pinched Chen Xiang's waist and vigorously gave a twist. Chen Xiang's soft flesh began turning as Lu Menjie tenderly laughed and said, "Don't think your 5th-level immortal and devil body is formidable." Chen Xiang felt the pain in the waist, and he suddenly began howling, "Sister Menjie, I was wrong, quickly stop." Lu Menjie was in the nirvana realm. Although she had not refined her body, but with the intake of spirit qi round the year, her body was nurtured with the true qi, making it become very strong. As a nirvana realm martial artist, with just a little bit of her strength, she could make Chen Xiang feel pain within an inch of his life. "Who told you to always bully me?" Lu Menjie released Chen Xiang as she angrily spoke. "I just want to dote on Sister Menjie. It's just that Sister Menjie does not appreciate it." Chen Xiang stuck out his tongue. Seeing Lu Menjie's angry and shy appearance, he secretly complained in his heart. The divine weapon Heavenly Empire's Empress was truly alluring. With just a simple gesture, she could already capture a man's soul. Lu Menjie glared at him. "Knock it off, I'm but Xianxian's and Yolan's master, you have to respect me. If others came to know we have this kind of relations, Hi+P, they would definitely gossip." "What relation?" Chen Xiang asked while smiling. "Humph, you little rascal, I hate you to death." Lu Menjie stamped her foot on the ground and tenderly scolded, "You quickly get out. You're always making me angry." Chen Xiang suddenly pointed at the white jade dragon cauldron behind Lu Menjie and said, "You see that white jade dragon cauldron?" Lu Menjie immediately turned her head around. Chen Xiang immediately approached her face and kissed on her tender cheek. This caught Lu Menjie by surprise for a moment, before she burst into a series of curses while Chen Xiang had already run out of the cave. Lu Menjie's beautiful face was flushed red. She softly snorted, before she received the white jade dragon cauldron and went out. "Be careful that you don't get killed. You still have Xianxian and Yulan." Lu Menjie knew Chen Xiang was going to fight a powerful adversary, thus she exhorted, "I also have my beautiful sister Menjie." Chen Xiang grinned ear to ear, then rushed out of the courtyard entrance. He swaggeringly walked into the Divine Weapon Palace. If not for his need to return quickly, he would have definitely stayed with Lu Menjie for some time. Being together with the Empress made him strangely excited. Chen Xiang flew back to the extreme martial sect, and in total, it only took him 5 days. Before he left, he also gave the black-armored crocodile he had obtained in the southern wasteland to Lu Menger to let her forge an armor for Ling Yulan. After returning to the extreme martial sect, Chen Xiang immediately inquired about Lu Jie's location, and he came to know that he was in the first martial courtyard. In that place, he had already roped in a lot of people, and he also fared very well with several true disciples of the first martial courtyard. After Chen Xiang and Lu Jie's matter occurred, Chen Xiang had disappeared, and according to Lu Jie, Chen Xiang would not be able to recover before 1 to 2 years. This clearly proved he was a lot stronger than Chen Xiang. However, many thought he was just being shameless. Not only was he older than Chen Xiang, he was also a lot stronger than Chen Xiang in cultivation. He got so proud after winning against Chen Xiang, as if he had won against a 9th-level true martial realm martial artist. Humph, a 7th-level true martial realm guy winning again Chen Xiang, a 5th-level true martial realm martial artist, and actually still boasting. He really has thick skin. Zhu Rong, while looking at Lu Jie far away in the square, ridiculed. Exactly, this kind of guy is simply not in the same level as elder brother Chen. Yun Xiaodao sneered in agreement. Their voices were rather loud, causing many to hear. After the distant Lu Jie heard, his complexion turned incomparably colder. His figure suddenly disappeared, and in the blink of an eye, he had already appeared in front of Zhu Rong. D.A.M. N. Fatty, do not think after entering the King Martial Courtyard, you can be self-righteous. Not to mention you, even Chen Xiang, I could slap you both to death. Lu Jie coldly said. He raised his palm high and fiercely smacked towards Zhu Rong's face. Just as Zhu Rong thought he was dead, Lu Jie's hand suddenly came to a halt. Chen Xiang's tall and strong figure appeared in front of him, blocking Lu Jie's wrist with just his finger, completely stopping Lu Jie's assault. Chapter 269 Amazing Progress. Chapter 269 Amazing Progress. Once Chen Xiang arrived, Yun Xiaodao and the others heaved a sigh of relief. They did not expect Lu Jie to be so bold, even daring to move against them here, which was a clear violation of the sect rules. Lu Jie's complexion changed, because of Chen Xiang's sudden appearance. Even he himself had not perceived Chen Xiang, and moreover, Chen Xiang had even blocked his attack. Truly a shameless fellow who only knows how to bully the weak. Chen Xiang sneered while staring at Lu Jie. He was a head taller than Lu Jie, and even his stature was dear than Lu Jie. With regards to their physique, Lu Jie appeared to be a lot weaker than him. At this time, 3 true disciples from behind Lu Jie also arrived. One was in 6th level, one was in 7th level, and the last one was in 8th level. In the extreme martial sect, there were not many true martial realm disciples, so Chen Xiang, with a single glance, recognized the 3. Lu Jie retracted his hand. In his heart, he was also surprised, because Chen Xiang appeared to be somewhat stronger. And it had only been a short 5 days, that's all. Originally, he believed it would take Chen Xiang at least 1 or 2 years before he could recover, yet in just 5 days, he was already all right. Chen Xiang, don't you remember the lesson I taught you last time? Lu Jie's pair of angry eyes stared at Chen Xiang. Of course I remembered, and it was because I remembered that I came to look for you. You almost killed me last time. Chen Xiang clenched his fist as his bones burst into crackling sounds. His voice was full of anger. Lu Jie loudly laughed. Are you looking to compete with me? However, you and I are not in the same level. I will not accept your challenge, lest others say I bully the weak. You don't deserve to fight with me, you are just a weak guy, a garbage whom had almost kneeled in front of me. Chen Xiang let loose of his clenched fist and became very calm. But suddenly, the surroundings were enveloped with slaughter chi. However, it only appeared for a moment, before it completely disappeared. This was Chen Xiang's appearance under extreme anger. A very furious person was rather terrifying when he was very calm. Anger would make one even more powerful, but it would also make them lose their wits. However, if someone remained calm in a state of fury, he could release the hidden strength in his body, and at the same time, he could calmly control that strength. If you wish to fight with Brother Lu, first you must receive my 2 moves, and also without weapon. A young man beside Lu Jie spoke at this time. His tone was very frivolous and arrogant, and he didn't even place Qin Xiang in his eyes. He was a 6th-level true martial realm disciple named Ying Qilai, and he was a figure from the same generation as Hao Dongqing, Yao Haixing and the others. So long as you defeat Brother Ying, I will reluctantly fight. He had not finished his sentence before a golden light flashed out. It was Qin Xiang's fist. That fierce punch was like a beam, bursting forth with intense slaughter chi and destructive power while in motion. At the same time, it was accompanied by a deafening tiger roar that was filled with slaughter and violence, causing the surrounding people to quiver in fear. This was the White Tiger Divine Fist. Without using the Azure Dragon slaughtering Devil Blade, Qin Xiang was just as terrible, because the martial technique he was using was divine exercise. As Qin Xiang struck his fist, no one had the chance to react. Ying Qilai's face, which was filled with disdain, had no room to change. Qin Xiang's golden tiger head fist directly landed on his nose as the quiet square could clearly hear the sound of nose breaking. It was followed by a burst of deafening roar, accompanied with blood-curdling screams. Ying Qilai flew out the square, slammed into a martial courtyard's wall far away, destroying the solid wall. His life's condition was unknown. Yun Xiaodao, Zhu Rong and Su Weilong, the trio's faces were sweating profusely. Just a moment ago, that punch was truly too violent, and it was so fast that it did not give anyone any time to react. As its sudden and explosive force was released, it made sure that it was very difficult to resist. A fist took out a 6th-level true martial realm martial artist in just a second. This kind of strength was incomparably shocking for others. Ying Qilai believed that Qin Xiang, without the Azure Dragon slaughtering Devil Blade, this divine weapon, would not have a lot of strength remaining. However, he was wrong, as his handsome face was completely ruined by Qin Xiang. Qin Xiang's fist had almost taken his life, and if Qin Xiang had not shown mercy, he might have been crippled. Qin Xiang only let him suffer a bit of internal injuries, as well as a broken nose, that's all. Now can I fight with you? Qin Xiang rubbed his fist, while indifferently watching Lu Jie. Lu Jie was also caught in surprise. If Qin Xiang had punched him instead a moment ago, he also had no way to dodge. He was the closest to Qin Xiang and Ying Qilai, and he could clearly observe the fist's speed as well as its strength. At the very least, he himself couldn't even see how Qin Xiang punched. He only saw a golden light rush. Hi plus Ying through, and then Ying Qilai immediately flew out. Within just 5 days, Qin Xiang had become a lot stronger. Even Lu Jie couldn't help but become fearful. However, he did not find any enhancement in Qin Xiang's true qi. Just as before, from Qin Xiang's aura, he could see that he was still in the 5th level of the true martial realm. Fight here? Lu Jie asked. A few days ago, although he had almost made Qin Xiang kneel down, he still failed to garner recognition of the others, and even though Qin Xiang at that time was defeated, his reputation hadn't even increased, which made him even more jealous and angry. Yes, right here. Life and death battle. Qin Xiang spoke word by word. Good, before the dean and the others arrive, I'll be finished with you. While speaking, Lu Jie's eyebrows twitched as Qin Xiang suddenly felt a power invading him, impacting towards his dantian. The power was comparatively strong at the beginning, but in the end it became a lot weaker. Lu Jie didn't move, yet he had already launched the attack. Moreover, it was extremely quick. This was precisely the ghost martial technique. Last time, Qin Xiang was at a disadvantage, and in order to not be disadvantaged anymore, he had endured excruciating pain for 3 days and 3 nights straight, and cultivated his body to the 5th level of the immortal and devil body. Yun Xiaodao and the others retreated back in succession. Everyone around them also hastily retreated back. These two were rather strong, and after the fight, the square would probably be brought to ruins. This time, Chen Xiang could clearly feel an extremely fast fist pounding on his abdomen. However, he was already prepared. That was why he wasn't the least bit afraid. After his body lightly shook, the power disappeared. His physical strength had improved by several times, but the scene was rather worlds apart compared to before. This time, he had very easily fended off the ghost martial technique. Stronger than last time, but it still cannot do anything to me. Chen Xiang spoke to himself in his heart as he looked at Lu Jie with a sneer. Lu Jie suddenly stared dumbfoundedly as he retreated a few steps in shock. His proud ghost martial technique had actually failed, and it was even unable to make Chen Xiang fall down to the ground. When he had used it a few days ago, the strength he had used was a lot weaker, yet Chen Xiang was already vomiting blood from serious injuries. But now, his attack didn't even affect Chen Xiang in the slightest. He is just in the 5th level of the true martial realm. I do not have to be afraid. I'll try again. Lu Jie told himself in his heart, then once again quietly casted a move. However, it still did not show any effect, and this time, Chen Xiang's body did not even budge a bit. Chen Xiang sneered, "Playtime's over, my turn." While speaking, he waved his hand as 5 fingers were stretched out. Just like an eagle claw, it burst into azure light, forming a huge dragon claw which struck towards Lu Jie. Chapter 270 Tyrannical. Chapter 270 Tyrannical. This one claw was quite fast, just like the white tiger divine fist he had used a moment ago. Moreover, it also carried tyrannical lightning power. Although Lu Jie was surprised, his battle experience was very rich. He leaned back a bit, dodging that frightening azure dragon claw. However, his chest was still scalded from the lightning chi gust. Plussing out of the tips of the dragon claws, leaving 3 charred bloodstains on his chest. Chen Xiang didn't want to ruin this large square. That was why when he started his offense, he did not use a powerful martial skill, lest Gu Dongchen and the others blamed him. Lu Jie quickly retreated as a frown appeared on his face. His left leg slightly moved as an invisible yet powerful qi suddenly surged towards Chen Xiang's right calf. Chen Xiang could feel a power akin to a leg sweep being released. It was like invisible legs sweeping over the ground, with an exceptionally strong momentum. Chen Xiang mobilized his qi into a layer, which then suddenly appeared on both of his legs, slightly transfixing him onto the ground. When the leg sweep arrived, Chen Xiang was not fazed even a bit, only the dust was swept. Although his leg was struck by that powerful leg sweep, he didn't feel any pain. Now that he had a 5th-level immortal and devil body, his whole body was like made up of copper skin and iron bones. For him, this kind of attack was rather weak, and he just felt ticklish. "Lu Jie, your sneaky attacks are useless to me," Chen Xiang sneered. Just as his feet slid like a cloud of smoke, he arrived in front of Lu Jie. At the same time, he fiercely brandished his fists as numerous golden fists surged forth, like a tide sweeping through, accompanied with a tiger roar filled with killing intent. His attacks shook everyone's soul as it reverberated in the sky. Chen Xiang's overwhelming white tiger divine fist enveloped Lu Jie as qi undulations flooded everywhere. The air released fled sounds from shock. This kind of fist was filled with violent power, drowning everyone else in fear. Lu Jie was also not bad. A gray qi cover appeared on his body, enveloping him in it, resisting those tiger heads' golden fist. In a blink of an eye, Chen Xiang had already released hundreds of fists, and each fist was like lightning, continuously bombarding on that gray qi cover. Each and every wave of attack sent Lu Jie's heart into trembling. He had never expected that the moderate true qi in Chen Xiang's body, after it has been casted through a martial skill, would actually become so overbearing and frightening, as if a tiger god of slaughter was bombarding with countless attacks. Humph. Chen Xiang looked at Lu Jie's qi cover that was gradually getting weaker and weaker under his onslaught. His attacks were then followed by a palm, which suddenly made the square tremble as soon as it struck its target. The surroundings of Lu Jie were suddenly cracked open. Chen Xiang had used the shocking heaven palm. Pas. Sing through the qi cover, it ruthlessly shook Lu Jie, and after his body was invaded by the shock, the blood and qi in his body turned chaotic. What Lu Jie did not expect was that, after Chen Xiang shot a palm, he continued with another, then another, and continued without stopping. Moreover, in a very quick speed, Chen Xiang once again used the tiger head golden fist from a moment ago. From the continuous shocks, the bricks in the square were beginning to let loose, while the bricks in the surroundings of Lu Jie turned into powder, because of Chen Xiang's continuous attacks. Your sneaky move can't be used anymore. Now do you have anything else? Where did your 3 pulse strength go? You have 3 kinds of true qi, but as mediocre as you are, they are simply wasted. Chen Xiang coldly said. Both of his palms struck without a trace of slowing down, constantly smacking on that true qi cover of Lu Jie, which was gradually becoming weaker and weaker. Chen Xiang was currently using the universe true qi from the fusion of his 5 elements true qi. It was the strongest state of his true qi, comparable to the 7th level of the true martial realm. After it was released through the shocking heaven plam, it became even stronger and terrifying. All onlookers were stunned. Although some of them had already witnessed Chen Xiang's fights, every time they see him again would still cause them to become shocked. They couldn't understand how Chen Xiang could continuously release such earth-shaking palms. Was Chen Xiang's true qi inexhaustible? Even some 7th-level true martial realm martial artists witnessing this could not help but be ashamed. This kind of rich true qi was truly terrifying. If it was someone else, it would be very difficult to cast 100 palms, but Chen Xiang had already casted more than 100 palms, and yet his breath was still extremely steady, not even showing any sign of exhaustion. The true qi within Chen Xiang's body hummed as it surged out from his dantian in a steady stream, and finally released out through his palm. Lu Jie was already in a sorry state, and his mouth was now full of blood, which was constantly being spewed out. At the moment, his whole body had already turned numb from shock. Although he had 3 kinds of true qi, he could not cultivate them so uniformly and fuse them like Chen Xiang. He could only use 1 true qi at a time. Moreover, even in the field of martial skills, he could not compare with Chen Xiang in the slightest. Not to mention that his true qi exercise was also not as good as Chen Xiang's. Originally, he believed that after learned the ghost martial technique, he could ignore everything. Many stronger than him had been defeated by the aforementioned move. As long as his adversaries were struck by his move, they would suffer serious injuries, which would render them unable to defend, causing them to eventually get killed by him. But now towards Chen Xiang, his proud move was rendered useless. The 5th-level immortal and devil body, in addition to the rich universe true qi, made Chen Xiang feel as if he had never been so powerful. His blood was seething as he roared again, and along with his shout, he was releasing the excitement trapped inside his body. The bricks in the square started moving up and down from the shock waves of the shocking heaven palm. As for the qi cover Lu Jie had released, it had already long disappeared, and Lu Jie spat out blood just as he attempted to speak. While Chen Xiang's palm had transformed into a fist, he was casting the violent white tiger divine fist, which befell on Lu Jie like rain. Within a few blinks of an eye, Lu Jie, from head to toe, had been rammed by those imposing golden fists full of slaughtering momentum. Chen Xiang's fists were also carrying suction force, rendering Lu Jie incapable to fly out from his strike. In this way, he had brutally and insanely wreaked havoc with his white tiger divine fist. Should we stop him? On a tower above, Wu Kaming asked. Gu Dongchen shook his head and said, No need, let him vent it. In these 5 days, he had grown so much simply to defeat Lu Jie. Wu Keiming nodded his head. Everyone challenged by Lu Jie were mystically defeated. They did not see or perceive Lu Jie's move, yet they were struck at their vital point. This Lu Jie had disappeared for 30 years, and when I went to ask him, he only described it vaguely. From one glance, it was clear he was hiding something. Wu Keiming said. He is using the ghost martial technique. Young martial uncle's body is several times stronger than in the past, that's why he could withstand the attack of the ghost martial technique. Gu Dongchen, with a solemn appearance, glanced at the faraway Lu Jie. Wu Keiming was surprised for a moment before he exclaimed, "Dean really has good eyes and experience. Even I did not expect it to be the ghost martial technique. This is a forbidden martial skill, and anyone cultivating this kind of martial skill will eventually lose their humanity and turn into a devil." Gu Dongchen heaved a long sigh and said, "Lu Jie certainly went to the Devil Yang clan. Only the Devil Yang clan have this kind of stuff. However, the martial artist had to sacrifice a lot to cultivate the ghost martial technique, which is also the reason the martial artist will lose his humanity." Because of this, Gu Dongchen did not stop Chen Xiang. Lu Jie was someone who had returned from the Devil Path sect, and his purpose for coming to the extreme martial sect could only be imagined. Regarding such people, Gu Dongchen would not be soft. At the moment, he was still brooding about the Souther Wasteland. For many years, he had not suffered such shame. He had actually been hoodwinked by the Devil Path sect, and he had almost sent his own sect's disciples to their death. Thinking of this point, Gu Dongchen suddenly clutched his fist. "Junior brother, let's wait for junior sister to come back, then we will begin our attack on the Devil Path sections. Before the great storm arrives, we will surely eradicate a Devil Path sect." Chapter 271 Taoyuan Grand Meeting. Chapter 271 Taoyuan Grand Meeting. Lu Jie's swollen body was lying on the ground, but he was not yet dead. He was glaring at Chen Xiang, and the look in his eyes was saying he could not wait to kill Chen Xiang. However, he currently didn't have any strength to do so. Chen Xiang fiercely stamped on his knee and directly broke it, making Lu Jie release yet another desolate blood-curdling scream. "Don't you like to force others to kneel? I'll make you kneel yet unable to kneel." While speaking, Chen Xiang once again broke off his other knee. The onlookers felt their scalp tingle while witnessing such brutal means. Those true disciples accompanying Lu Jie before could not help but retreat far away. Not long ago, Ying Qilai flew away just from a fist of Chen Xiang, and now, they did not want to be the victim of that absurd punch of Chen Xiang. "Chen Xiang, you mongrel, you'll definitely not have a good death. Don't think you can kill me. Let me tell you, the elders and the dean are optimistic about me. I have 3 pulse constant I Tushin, my talent." Before he could finish, Chen Xiang began laughing as he took out the azure dragon slaughtering devil blade. He placed it above Lu Jie's neck, then chopped down. Everyone was shaken as they started to have goose bu. MPS. Lu Jie was indeed someone with pretty good talent. They knew that if this kind of disciple was killed, the dean would definitely get mad. But so what? Chen Xiang could overwhelmingly kill him, and it was quite clear that Chen Xiang was more talented than him. Would the extreme martial sect cripple Chen Xiang? Impossible, not to mention both of them were having a life-and-death battle. No one could object Chen Xiang's actions. Yun Xiaodao and the others felt like they had lived like a dog all these years. Originally, they had the same strength as Chen Xiang, but now, the difference between them and Chen Xiang was like heaven and earth. Thinking of this, they could not help but hasten their return to the King Martial Courtyard and start working hard in cultivation. Chen Xiang incinerated Lu Jie's body on the spot. He had already sensed Gu Dongchen and Wu Keiming watching from distance, but since they did not come to stop, it was clear that they acquiesced with his approach. After entering the extreme martial mysterious realm, Chen Zhang was pulled by Wu Keiming into his residence, where Gu Dongchen too was present. "Young martial uncle, your body is actually so strong." Just with your flesh, you should be able to ram a 4th-level true martial realm martial artist to the ground. Gu Dongchen exclaimed. That is already a given. Your uncle had suffered too much for this, and to tell you the truth, your uncle's body is currently in the 5th level of the immortal and devil body. Chen Xiang sat on the chair and very proudly spoke. In front of his martial nephews, of course he must be awe-inspiring, lest they look down upon him. Hearing Chen Xiang's words, Gu Dongchen almost dropped the teacup in his hand. He looked at Chen Xiang with eyes filled with wonder, and the same was true for Wu Keiming. His 2 pair of old eyes were wide open as they stared at Chen Xiang. Gu Dongchen could only sigh. Even his master did not have such a monstrous talent as Chen Xiang's. Right, where did that little girl disappear to? I miss her very much. Chen Xiang asked. Elder Dan had not appeared, and this made him very much think of her. Junior sister, she often go into closed-door training. Her whereabouts are generally erratic, almost everyone know about this. Gu Dongchen replied. Wu Keiming said, Young martial uncle, did you not find something different? Chen Xiang thought before he shook his head and said, What is it? I did not find anything. There are not many inner sect disciples, especially true disciples, because they all went to Danxiang Taoyuan. Gu Dongchen slightly smiled and said. Chen Xiang frowned. Why did they go to the Danxiang Taoyuan? The Fragrant City will begin its preparation for the once 100 years Grand Dan meeting. There are still 3 months' time left, but it was already very lively there. Once it starts, I and the dean will also go, as well as the other sect's dean. Wu Keiming said. Chen Xiang had indeed heard of the grand meeting, and the finale of this grand meeting was an alchemy tournament, which would pretty much bring together many of the alchemists of the Qinwu mainland. This alchemy tournament was completely different from all other tournaments Chen Xiang had seen or partook. 1p. Aided before, this alchemy tournament was rather large, and there was no shortage of famous alchemists among the partook. 1p. Aiders. You are an alchemist, you should go and have a look. How about coming along with us? Gu Dongchen asked. Of course I'll go now, Chen Xiang said. Now there would be a large number of people there, and at any moment a large auction would also be held. It was the best time to gather some precious herbs. You alone will be too dangerous. Now, not only the righteous sects are staring at you, even those 5 major devil path sects very much want you dead. Gu Dongchen said with some concern. I'm not afraid, Chen Xiang carelessly said. If he went alone, he would arrive there quickly. On the other hand, Gu Dongchen, while facing Wu Keiming, smiled and said, Someone's here. Chen Xiang frowned, only to hear Long Xue's giggles as she spoke. It's your sister Menger, she is outside the extreme martial mysterious realm. Wu Keiming hastily went out to greet. Lu Menger came here, and Chen Xiang had the bra's to stay here. He wished to know why Lu Menger came. Lu Menger was garbed in a white longuette, and her long hair was draped over her shoulder. Her white face was filled with coldness and grandeur, with an otherworldly temperament, carrying a kind of mesmerizing royal and proud bearing. Seeing the elegance of this peerless woman, Chen Xiang was secretly astonished. He rarely saw Lu Menger with this kind of appearance. Lu Menger, after seeing Chen Xiang here, could not help but be surprised in her heart, especially when she saw Chen Xiang was tilting his leg and was rudely sitting, while Gu Dongchen and Wu Keiming weren't even speaking anything. This made her feel extremely suspicious, because she could see that Chen Xiang's relations with these 2 taik OONS was not ordinary. She herself was just the same. Wu Keiming gave a glare to Chen Xiang, and Chen Xiang could only respond as he hastily stood up and respectfully gave a salute to Lu Menger. This made Lu Menger to start laughing in her heart. At the same time, she was also somewhat pleased, because when she was together with Chen Xiang was not as courteous. Chen Xiang was also depressed. He had very good relation with all 3 taik OONS in here, and yet he had to pretend. Empress Lu, Are you looking for junior sister? Gu Dongchen smilingly asked. It seemed his and Lu Menger's relation was not bad, otherwise, he would not use such a form of address. Elder Dan is not here? Lu Menger asked. She had already disappeared. Wu Kaming sighed. Lu Menger was a bit disappointed. I came to look for her in order to go to Danxiang Taoyuan together and make her help me take some spirit herbs. It's really a pity. Chen Xiang's eyes lit up as he hurriedly said, Senior Lu, this brat is also going to Danxiang Taoyuan. Dean and the others do not trust me in going alone. I don't know whether I could accompany you? Regarding spirit herbs, I also have some understanding. Thinking of traveling together with Chen Xiang, this little rascal, Lu Menger was conflicted in her heart. She very much wished to be together with Chen Xiang, but then again, she was afraid of being taken advantage by him, especially when there were no one else present. Miss Lu, this brat had caused too much trouble. He is anxious to go to Danxiang Taoyuan. If he's going alone, we cannot be at ease, even though the road is not very long. Wu Kaming said. Lu Menger cursed Chen Xiang in her heart. Last time, when Chen Xiang went to her divine weapon Heavenly Empire, he was pretty much safe during the entire trip. The fragrant city of the Danxiang Taoyuan was indeed somewhat far, and on the road, the possibility of getting ambushed was rather high, causing her to also worry about Chen Xiang. She nodded in acceptance, which made Chen Xiang rejoice in his heart. Chapter 272, Fire Spirit's Reappearance. Chapter 272, Fire Spirit's Reappearance. Witnessing Chen Xiang's happy appearance, Lu Menger scoffed in her heart. Let's go now. Chen Xiang said. This kind of stiff feeling made him very uncomfortable. Elder sister Lu, I'm requesting you to take care of this brat. Gu Dongchen smiled and said as he touched Chen Xiang's head and said. Chen Xiang didn't expect Lu Menger to actually be older than Gu Dongchen. Lu Menger faintly smiled and replied, Both of you rest assured. Chen Xiang followed Lu Menger out of the extreme martial sect. He rode on a lotus-shaped flying disc produced by her. This flying disc was very large. After the extreme martial sect became a mere speck in the distance in Chen Xiang's view, he lay down and let out a satisfied moan, really comfortable. Little rascal, your relations. Hi+P is quite good with Gu Dongchen and the others. Lu Menger tenderly spat before speaking. She then vigorously gave a pinch on Chen Xiang's arm. He actually so casually lied down on her flying disc. That is, of course, isn't our relations. Hi+P also quite good? Chen Xiang laid on the lotus disc and looked up at the blue sky. Sister Menger, thanks a lot for helping me temper my body. I easily killed that guy. Seeing Chen Xiang sucking in her body fragrance, Lu Menger slightly blushed. Little rascal, is that guy you killed very strong? Tell me. Chen Xiang told the conflict with Lu Jie to Lu Menger, which made her very astonished. This guy was definitely using the ghost martial technique. According to what my parents told me, a martial artist cultivating in the ghost martial technique will eventually turn into a mindless person. Only Devil Yang clan has this technique. Even in the Devil Yang clan, its cultivation was banned. It is a forbidden martial skill. Lu Menger's pretty complexion took a drastic change. When Lu Menger listened to Chen Xiang describing the various things that occurred with the Lu family, she said with certainty, the Lu family was definitely colluding with the Devil Yang clan. I didn't expect such a dangerous person was even hiding in your extreme martial sect. But he was finished off by me, Chen Xiang said with a wide grin. Lu Menger had always believed Chen Xiang was rather resourceful or fortunate, but regarding him being able to kill a 9th-level true martial realm elder, she was now somewhat suspicious. Was he truly killed using your own strength? From what I remember, when the rumors about this was spreading, you were not even in the 5th level of the true martial realm. Lu Menger said. Believe what you want to believe. Chen Xiang also didn't explain this matter, because at that time, he had relied on Long Xue's strength. He mischievously laughed and said, Sister Menger, you should also lie down, there's still a lot of S.P.A.C. Lu Menger pursed her lips and said in a tender tone, "Do not think I can not throw you down." Chen Xiang took out a jade pillow, patted it under his head, and with a rather enjoying look, laid down on the disc. Seeing Lu Menger was once again about to twist his arm, he immediately asked a question. "Sister Menger, how are the studies going on the spirit patterns I gave you? When are you going to teach me how to refine equipments?" "To tell you honestly, I don't have a clue. These spirit patterns are not the ones I am familiar with, moreover, there are so many. If only I knew the characteristic of each spirit pattern, I would be able to lies the combinations, so that I could fuse various characteristic of different spirit patterns and release power of spirit patterns. This is a very vast project." Lu Menger replied. This lotus flying disc was made out of white jade. Even though its speed was relatively not fast, it could still fly at a very high altitude. "Sister Menger, can you help forge one of these flying things?" Chen Xiang asked. If he had one of these things, he could have a leisurely napping spot in the future when he had to go far away. This is a brilliant level equipment, it is not so easy to refine. Not to mention, the materials required are very rare. Wait till I gather the appropriate materials, then I'll take some time to help you refine one. However, both Yulan and Xianxian are ahead of you in priority. Xianxian often pesters me for one, I cannot be biased either, so I have to give Yulan one too. Lu Menger caressed her hair and faintly said. Seeing this charming beautiful posture, the observing Chen Xiang was dazed. Brilliant equipment, very expensive, sigh. Looks like the dean has also been ripped off by you. Chen Xiang said. There were not many brilliant equipments, refining them was difficult and the materials were rare, very few could afford to refine them. Sister Menger, will you take crystal stones from me too? Chen Xiang asked with a smile. We'll talk about it then, anyway, I have not yet started refining. Lu Menger stood up and looked far away. Hey! Lu Menger shouted in surprise while staring at the distance. Chen Xiang also stood up. After seeing the desert in front of them, he also felt a little strange. They were on their way to the fragrant city, and traveled quite a ways to their destination. Chen Xiang had also gone through this very same road, yet he did not remember any desert along the way. The desert in the front of them was enveloped in scorching atmosphere. Looking from afar, the desert air seemed to be slightly distorted. At this time Chen Xiang and Lu Menger both felt the presence of some people. I've traveled the road countless times, and this desert had definitely never been here before, yet now it has suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Lu Menger said in a low tone. Chen Xiang also felt it was incomparably odd. How about we go and have a look? With Sister Menger's strength, I think there should be nothing to fear. Lu Menger nodded her head as the lotus disc became a lot faster. Chen Xiang once again lay down while Lu Menger stood at the edge, looking at that vast desert with a solemn countenance. Seeing Lu Menger's beautiful and elegant figure, Chen Xiang really wanted to hold her from behind and then kiss her cheek. Floating in his imagination, Chen Xiang's body could not help but release a slight heat. Lu Menger's 5 senses were superb. Just a second later, she sensed the slight heat emanating from the abdomen of that little rascal behind her. As Lu Menger turned around, she saw Chen Xiang staring at her with an evil look in his eyes. She was extremely ashamed and furious. She gave wide eyes to Chen Xiang along with a tender snort. Little rascal, what are you thinking? Chen Xiang didn't expect Lu Menger's senses to be this strong. She could actually know what he was thinking. He forcefully smiled and said, Nothing, just recalling some memories of a happy past. The flying disc had already entered the sky above the desert. The originally lying Chen Xiang fiercely jumped up, a strange look brimmed up his face. Just a moment ago, a power within his body slightly trembled for a bit. It was the quivering of the heavenly sun fire spirit, and now he was also having a rather strong and strange feeling. It was not something he could explain. There's signs of a fire spirit is about to be born. Long Shui shouted in shock. Chen Xiang was fiercely surprised for a moment. The strange feeling from within his body seemed to be guiding him to find the fire spirit. He didn't expect the heavenly sun fire spirit to actually have such a use. It could apparently sense the location of the fire spirit. Lu Menjie found Chen Xiang acting a bit strange. She hastily asked, "Little rascal, are you all right?" Chen Xiang pointed at a direction, shouted, "Sister Menjie, fly to that side. We will find a good thing there." "What good thing?" "That's the north side, it is very cold there." Although Lu Menjie said so, she still controlled the lotus disc into flying towards the direction Chen Xiang had pointed. Chen Xiang shook his head. "I'm still not sure whether it's what I think the thing is or not." Chapter 273 Agonizing. Chapter 273 Agonizing. The existence of fire spirit was very rare. In the entire Qinwu mainland, only Chen Xiang and Wu Qianqian had the fire spirit. As for Elder Dan, even though she had it, as it came from the Purple Moon world, it was not naturally born and bred in the Qinwu mainland. And even Chen Xiang's heavenly sun fire spirit was not bred in the Qinwu mainland, because it was given to him by the ancient fire beast. In other words, only Wu Qianqian's blue star fire spirit was native to the Qinwu mainland. And according to both Long Shui and Su Meiyao, on a mainland, although the fire spirits were rare, it didn't mean they were not there. Generally, it would all be hidden, and although some people had them, they would never use them in their lifetime. In addition, there were also some fire spirits which would keep on burning to their death. Chen Xiang was secretly excited in his heart, because he would soon find a naturally born fire spirit. Lu Menjie, this kind of powerful figure, also didn't have the fire spirit. It clearly showed how rare the fire spirits were. What fire spirit is it? It can even turn this piece of land into a desert. Chen Xiang asked Long Shui. No idea. In short, it is marvelous, at least it is no less than the blue fire spirit. Long Shui said, in her heart she too was looking forward to it. An entire day said, and the flying disc has been flying over the scorching desert all this time. The deeper they flew towards the direction where Chen Xiang's pointed direction, the more Lu Menjie felt hot. We are getting farther and farther away from the fragrant city. What the hell is that thing? Lu Menjie asked with a pout. She had asked several times, yet Chen Xiang had not answered. Hold on, I'll surely tell you later. Overall, it is a good thing. Chen Xiang laughed and said. At this time, a rather strange scene appeared. The scorching desert with steam rising was actually linked together with an ice-cold ground completely covered in snow. Lu Menjie had long found something was rather wrong here, especially after she saw this scene. Something was strange, that was why she believed what Chen Xiang had said. There must be something affecting the environment, only then would this place turn like this. The scorching desert and the ice-cold ground completely covered in snow were only separated by a thin line. Lu Menjie landed on the middle of that connection and asked, "This is strange, what kind of thing could actually cause this type of phenomena?" Chen Xiang stood on the line connecting the scorching desert and land of ice, then with Lu Menjie, he walked along the line. He walked in accordance with the feeling he was getting from within his body. He trusted the heavenly sun fire spirit's feeling. We will soon arrive, Chen Xiang said in excitement. Lu Menjie didn't know what it was, only, in her heart, she was very doubtful. At the same time, she was secretly inantic. 1p. Asian. Chen Xiang suddenly stopped and excitedly said, "Just below here. Sister Menjie, quickly dig the thing out from here." Lu Menjie said in a tender voice, "Why should I dig? Why don't you do it yourself?" Her voice was filled with resentment. It was not the first time Chen Xiang made her do these kinds of things. She was a dignified empress of the divine weapon Heavenly Empire, yet she was being ordered. "Little rascal, don't you have compa? S. Shaun for women. Lu Menjur tenderly snorted and said. While speaking, an incomparably formidable power burst out from her body, making Chen Xiang feel as if something was pressing down upon him. He could not help but retreat. At this time, Chen Xiang remembered that this pretty woman was a Nirvana realm martial artist. However, he was rather proud, because he often verbally molested her, and he was also very close with her. A deep crack appeared on the ground, which was opened up by Lu Menjur's power. Just as Chen Xiang took a step, he felt a powerful cold and hot stream surging out from deep within the crack. In the blink of an eye, Chen Xiang felt extremely cold to the point of H.I. plus veering, but in another blink of an eye, he felt heat as if he was being burned by fire. This feeling of alternating hot and cold had suddenly made him softly lay paralyzed on the ground. He didn't expect that the fire spirit would actually have freezing cold power. Lu Menjur was even more surprised than Chen Xiang. She was originally a martial artist cultivating fire and ice true qi, and she had a very high resistance against fire and ice. However, she also could not bear the alternating heat and cold, causing her to trust Chen Xiang's words even more. A very powerful thing was indeed hiding underground. That thing is coming up, Sister Menjur, be careful. Chen Xiang suddenly burst into a shout. He wanted to block the pouncing and frightening fire spirit, but he was paralyzed by the alternating cold and hot stream. Lu Menjur was surprised as she quickly retreated, only to see a purple thing shoot out of the crack, with even more intense cold air and scorching heat, making Chen Xiang even more uncomfortable. Lu Menjur finally knew what it was. She was a fire user, and regarding flames, she had a very deep understanding. With one glance, she recognized it was the greed for all the fire users, the fire spirit. However, it was also with freezing cold characteristic, and based on her knowledge, this type of fire spirit should not exist. Purple fire spirit, Sister Menjur, quickly receive it, don't let this thing run away. Chen Xiang quickly shouted. Lu Menjur glanced at Chen Xiang in surprise. She didn't know why Chen Xiang knew there was a fire spirit here. Moreover, the purple fire spirit was formidable. In her opinion, such a youngling should not have such a deep understanding about fire spirit. Not to mention fire spirits, even people who knew about martial soul were not many. Although the martial soul was similarly rare, there were still more of them compared to the fire spirit. Chen Xiang looked at the bunch of purple flames floating in the air. Even though he didn't know what fire spirit it was, he knew that this kind of fire spirit was a strange type, and it was different compared to the fire spirits he had seen. When Chen Xiang wanted to urge Lu Menjur to receive the fire spirit, the purple fire spirit actually consciously flew towards Lu Menjur and merged into Lu Menjur's body. The moment the fire spirit merged into Lu Menjur's beautiful face suddenly distorted from pain as she let out crisp and sharp screams. Chen Xiang had suffered this kind of pain, and it was also the same for Wu Qianqian. Seeing the painful appearance of Lu Menjur, Chen Xiang was heartbroken. Lu Menjur let out mournful and tender screams in pain while rolling on the ground. Chen Xiang didn't expect that when fused with the fire spirit, even Nirvana realm martial artists could experience such excruciating pain. This is necessary because after the fusion with the fire spirit, her flames and her body will undergo advancement. Moreover, her flames and body are already both very strong, that's why she must suffer pain even more severe than what Yu and Wu Qianqian had experienced. Su Meiyao said. Lu Menjur felt like she was dying. At this time, she suddenly grabbed Chen Xiang rather powerfully with her tender hands. "Little rascal, it's very painful!" Lu Menjur screamed. Seeing this, Chen Xiang felt his heart bleed. He hugged Lu Menjur and let her lean on his arms, just like when he hugged Wu Qianqian the last time. Although Lu Menjur was in agony, she knew she was being hugged by Chen Xiang, which made her extremely disgraced and furious. However, she simply could not reprimand Chen Xiang, since the pain intensified. Lu Menjur was now sitting on Chen Xiang's lap, and her slender thighs were closely sandwiching Qin Xiang's thick waist. Her beautiful hands were also closely clutching Qin Xiang's generous waist, and her nails had already entered Qin Xiang's clothes and dug into Qin Xiang's flesh. At the moment, rounds after rounds of bloody scratches appeared on Qin Xiang's back. Chapter 274, Kissing. Chapter 274, Kissing TLN. In the 17K site this chapter is censored. The T.I. Tli at 17K is also different, it is fusion of fire spirit, so if someone find it rather different from 17K chapter, please don't blame me. Is this every woman's talent? Qin Xiang secretly endured. Lu Menger's body was much more powerful than Qin Xiang's, despite the fact he had the 5th level immortal and devil body, her clawing still left bloody marks. Both of Qin Xiang's hands were wrapped around Lu Menger's soft and slender waist. He held her tight in his bosom, a close-knit hug while Lu Menger's body alternated between two extremes of hot and cold. Feeling those two round voluptuous soft lumps transmitting hot and cold sensations, waves surged in Qin Xiang's heart. However, Lu Menger had also rendered numerous bloody scratches on Qin Xiang's back. Thus, he was currently both happy and in pain. Lu Menger's face was buried in his chest. After nibbling her lips for a long time, she suddenly felt a lot better. She was barely conscious of the fact that her nails were lacerating Qin Xiang's back, but she could not control herself, she was simply in too much pain. "Little rascal, I'm going to die." "Ugh. It's so painful," whimpered Lu Menger. She raised her head and looked at Qin Xiang. Her beautiful face had been distorted with pain. Her pretty eyes revealed a complex look that only gave a hint of the unbearable pain she was going through. Upon seeing this, Qin Xiang felt a dull throbbing pain in his heart for some unknown reason. Looking at those beautiful eyes, he could not help but lower his head. He slowly brought his lips closer, before eventually sealing those bleeding lips belonging to Lu Menger. Lu Menger was in pain and felt disgraced. Even when she bit her lips down even more tightly, Qin Xiang's soft and fiery tongue managed to pry them open. Qin Xiang was taking a huge risk right now. With the unimaginable pain Lu Menger was going through, it wouldn't be a strange event if she suddenly clenched her jade teeth and bit his tongue right off. With some effort, Qin Xiang's tongue finally made its way safely into Lu Menger's mouth. Soon, he managed to locate that hiding fragrant tongue, stroking it around. He was quite familiar with this, as Xue Xianxian and Qin Xiang had often kissed, so he was well versed in this sort of thing. The last time he managed to compel Su Meiyao into unable to stop herself. This kind of strange feeling was like an electric current. It suddenly surged through Lu Menger's whole body from the inside of her mouth. Because she knew that Qin Xiang's tongue was moving around in her mouth, she did not dare to vigorously bite down, no matter how painful it was for her. At the same time, she managed to curse Qin Xiang through her pain for taking advantage of her crisis and doing this sort of thing to her. She was Xue Xianxian's master, and Xue Xianxian was Qin Xiang's wife. Actually, when Qin Xiang thought of this relation, Hi+P between them, he became even more excited, stirring up that unyielding fragrant tongue. Lu Menger did not last long in her futile resistance. Every single time her tongue got caught by his, her body would feel inexplicably comfortable, which eased much of pain. She jerkily met with Qin Xiang's, as her soft, delicate tongue wrapped around his. Qin Xiang secretly felt very happy in his heart. The last time he and Su Meiyao kissed was also similar to this. Although both women had lived for a very long time, neither of them were proficient or well versed in things regarding men and women. In fact, they had never even kissed someone before. Now, when they tasted its sweetness, Lu Menger was infatuated with the soft comforting sensation spreading through her, as was Su Meiyao. They both took the initiative and silently returned the action, kissing Qin Xiang of their own accord. Unconsciously, the throbbing pain in Lu Menger's body gradually weakened. Meanwhile, Chen Xiang also had a bizarre feeling. At this time, Long Shui exclaimed, "Your heavenly sun fire spirit is releasing a peculiar aura. It's actually flowing through your mouth into Lu Menger's body and suppressing that strange fire spirit." Lu Menger's pain had completely disappeared now. She felt as if she had just emerged out of Hell and entered a paradise. She could clearly feel a bizarre stream of energy surging into her body through Chen Xiang's tongue. After entering her body, this energy seemed to accelerate the fusion between her body and that strange fire spirit. This was a very mystical sensation. Sometimes a bad accident would bring about something beautiful. This was definitely the case for Chen Xiang. What was currently happened was something he had only dreamed of coming true. In the ring, Su Meiyao was tenderly snorting. "This little rascal. Humph, he is really bad. He's even bullying his wife's master." When she thought to the past of personally kissing Chen Xiang last time, her beautiful suddenly flushed a bright red. She was overwhelmed with a feeling of longing, however, she would never voice that out loud. The sun fell as night came. Lu Menger suddenly slumped down and instantly fell asleep. When both of their lips had parted, Chen Xiang was completely satisfied. At the same time, he recalled that sensation with a feeling of nostalgia. He looked at the defenseless beauty lying in his arms and felt proud in his heart. He stroked her soft hair and wiped off the streaks of tears left on her face. That sort of indescribable pain rendered Lu Menger physically and mentally exhausted. Even though Chen Xiang did help her in relieving some physical pain, he added some to her mental exhaustion, yet all in all she was completely exhausted from all the ordeal of today. Chen Xiang still felt a stinging sensation on his back, and knew the scene was appalling, but he felt it was still definitely worth it. Chen Xiang remained motionless. He feared that the slightest movement would wake Lu Menger and shatter this beautiful and fragile moment. He didn't even dare to breathe heavily and only stared at Lu Menger's sleeping face with love. She was so stunningly beautiful. "You little rascal! Hey, you're definitely a bad boy, but this girl liked it." Long Shui mischievously laughed. She also wanted to come out and stroke that beautiful face. It seems that when she was fusing with the fire spirit, she underwent far more excruciating pain than Wu Qianqian. Chen Xiang said with a heavy sigh. "Of course that's the case, she is in the Nirvana realm after all. The fact that she's not dead is pretty good. Don't forget that fire spirits are all very strange. A purple fire spirit is very good, but it was also with freezing cold purple fire spirit. That being said, it is also the most suitable one for her. It is a very unique fire spirit. If used correctly, it's not necessarily worse than your heavenly sun fire spirit." Su Meiyao said with envy. Chen Xiang just laughed it off and said, "Sister Meiyao, just wait until I'm strong enough. I'll definitely help you find a powerful fire spirit." "By you said with a neither cold nor warm tone, junior sister. This brat is definitely planning to take advantage of women when they fuse with fire spirits. Sister Meiyao, when you fuse with the fire spirit, this brat can be perfectly justified in his actions to help ease your pain. He will definitely take advantage of you quite cheaply." Long Shui said with a wide grin. Chen Xiang muttered, "Bunch of bad women, gauging the heart of a gentleman with their own mean measures. I am truly thinking for Sister Meiyao's sake." He said this, only to hear Long Shui along with the two sisters suddenly tenderly snort in unison. None of these three women believed what Chen Xiang just said. Chen Xiang was worried that after Lu Menger woke up, she would be estranged from him. At that time, it would be very difficult for him to meet her ever again. He very much missed the sensation of kissing Lu Menger. Chen Xiang sighed lightly, when he thought about how he was able to kiss one of the strongest female martial artists in the world. He was both satisfied and worried. At dawn, Lu Menger gradually opened her eyes as she woke up. When Chen Xiang and Wu Qianqian fused with their fire spirits, they slept for a long time. Yet, Lu Menger only slept for one night before waking up. Lu Menger's eyes were half opened. Her face was still buried in Qin Xiang's chest. She could hear the pounding of Qin Xiang's heart which mirrored her own. She was still powerless at the moment. The fusion with the fire spirit had yet to finish. Hey! Little rascal, wake up! My body is hurting again. Lu Menger powerlessly trailed off. Qin Xiang instantly opened his eyes. He was fiercely elated in his heart. Lu Menger managed to tilt her head upwards and stare into Qin Xiang's eyes, her own filled with a complex attractive splendor. In response, Qin Xiang stroked her pale face before lowering his head. He once again began silently kissing Lu Menger. This time around, his tongue met no resistance and easily entered Lu Menger's mouth. The two intertwined in a warm and tender embrace. The fire qi from the heavenly sun fire spirit instilled into Lu Menger's body while the two individuals became immersed. This warm sensation filled with happiness. Chapter 275 Divine Weapons Trail. Chapter 275 Divine Weapons Trail. Another day, Paes said. Early morning, sunlight shone upon an embracing couple of a strapping young man and a beauty. The scene seemed to be very warm. Qin Xiang opened his eyes. He had released a rather large amount of heavenly sun fire spirit's fire qi, making him very tired, and it was only because Long Shui was keeping a close watch on the surroundings was he able to embrace a beauty and rest. Lu Menger's beautiful and stunning face returned to its past splendor, and at this time she appeared even more beautiful and moving, as if a flower has bloomed, filled with a kind of glamorous charm. She has fused successfully, Long Shui said. Qin Xiang nodded his head, but he did not release Lu Menger from his embrace. He was worried that in the future, he would not be able to hold Lu Menger again, despite knowing he would definitely be cursed by Lu Menger. Lu Menger, feeling the dazzling sunlight ning upon her, slightly lifted her eyelid, raised her head and looked at Qin Xiang. Her blurred pretty eyes were filled with a complex look. She too didn't know how she should face this kind of thing. At this moment, she had already recovered her strength, but she did not leave Qin Xiang's arms. Sister Menger, congratulations! You have fused with the fire spirit. Qin Xiang sincerely congratulated, then lightly stroked her hair. And, thank you, Lu Menger said in a tender tone. At this time, she suddenly felt that there was something strange inside her nails, causing her to think of how she mindlessly scratched Qin Xiang's back when she was enduring the pain. Just when Lu Menger wanted to clean up Qin Xiang's wound, Qin Xiang closely hugged her and said, "It's nothing serious. I will not let you go, lest I'm unable to hold you in the future." Lu Menger lightly spat, "Little fool, quickly release me. If I'm like this with you, what do you want me to do?" Qin Xiang released Lu Menger and obediently laid down on the ground. Lu Menger, seeing the numerous staggered bloody scratches on Qin Xiang's back, felt a heartache. She once again looked at both of her hands, which were filled with blood and some skin she had scratched out. After Lu Menger woke up, the atmosphere was not as embarrassing as Qin Xiang had imagined. On the contrary, it was filled with a light warmth, making Qin Xiang feel secretly happy. "Sister Menger, your flames are now very formidable, right?" Qin Xiang asked. "I think my fire spirit is much special than I imagined." "You little rascal also have fire spirit, right? And it seems it is also as formidable as mine." Lu Menger, with some herbal water, carefully wiped those deep scratches on Qin Xiang's back. Unconsciously, her eyes became somewhat moist. Although she knew these small injuries were rather nothing to Qin Xiang, she still felt an inexplicable pain in her heart. "And, regarding our fire spirits, it can't be spoken to anyone, because there is a powerful organization that specially crossed worlds to catch fire spirit users. Not to mention this organization can even seize the fire spirit within one's body. Sister Menger, you definitely have to keep it a secret," Qin Xiang seriously exhorted. "I know about this organization, it is called Fire God Temple. My parents once told me about them, and told me that if I ever go to the heavenly realm, I must avoid the fire God temple, no matter how rich the condition they give. I cannot join them. Lu Menger's complexion also turned dignified. After some kind of powder was applied on Chen Xiang's back, he felt cool, and very soon, the flesh on his back began to regrow, filling up those deep scratches. It was the white jade Dan, and regarding ordinary external injuries, was very useful. Chen Xiang's clothes have already been clawed through, so he just took off his clothes. Lu Menger didn't felt shy, as if she had been accustomed to this. Her eyes were peering at the white dragon tattoo on Chen Xiang's left arm as she asked, "What is this tattoo?" Chen Xiang casually said. Lu Menger also didn't hold any doubt, as she didn't feel anything wrong with the white dragon. Lu Menger released her jade lotus disc, and after she boarded with Chen Xiang, it flew towards the fragrant city. "Sister Menger, give me a hug," Chen Xiang said in a low voice. "No way, we will be seen and it will not be good." Lu Menger rejected the request of little rascal. Chen Xiang sighed in disappointment, before laying down on the disc. "Little rascal, do not always think of something bad, you need to become strong. I'll enter the heavenly realm much quicker than you by that time." Lu Menger didn't continue to speak. Chen Xiang smiled and said, "Sister Menger, after you go to the heavenly realm, will you wait for me?" "But of course." Lu Menger knew Chen Xiang was certainly out of ordinary. After the kiss with Chen Xiang, she found her own feeling towards him had already become clear. Hearing Lu Menger's affirmation, Chen Xiang felt relieved. "You can't let Xian and Yulan know about this," Lu Menger said with a flush on her face. Thinking of cheating with her only apprentice's husband, she suddenly felt extremely ashamed. She felt very bad, and at the same time she cursed Chen Xiang, this little rascal, who was actually so lascivious, even made a move on his wife's master. Chen Xiang sat up, looked towards Lu Menger, took out the azure dragon's slaughtering devil blade and said, "Sister Menger, now only the whereabouts of the white tiger divine weapon remains unknown. We already have the 3 divine weapons, perhaps after we bring the 3 weapons together, it could produce a contact with the 4th white tiger divine weapon." While speaking, on Chen Xiang's body, the black tortoise adamantal armor already appeared. Staring at Chen Xiang wearing a battle armor, looking prestigious and handsome, Lu Menger was in a trance. Last time, after she saw Chen Xiang put on the black tortoise adamantal armor, she had a complex mood for Chen Xiang. "Little rascal, when I was scratching your back, why did you not release the black tortoise adamantal armor?" Lu Menger lowered her head and spat. "You have the vermilion bird tender thread. I was afraid that if I released it, it would affect your fusion with the fire spirit." Chen Xiang grinned. "Sister Menger, hurry up and release your vermilion bird divine weapon." Lu Menger nodded her head, waved her tender white hands, only to see a transparent ribbon appear on her hand, wrapped around her body. She looked like a fairy, making Chen Xiang stare at her in a daze. When the 3 divine weapons were brought closer together, it exactly happened as Chen Xiang had predicted. It really produced a bizarre contact. Very soon, in Chen Xiang and Lu Menger's mind, a tiger's roar resounded, filled with slaughtering aura. It can really sense the white tiger divine weapon's location. What the hell is it? Chen Xiang muttered. Lu Menger looked at the direction from where the tiger roar came. Her voice became rather serious. "It came from the direction of the free immortal sea. I heard there is a huge whirlpool in the nearby sea, and every once in a while it will appear. Is it because there is a mysterious realm?" "Should be. How often does that whirlpool appears?" Chen Xiang hastily asked. 3 years, I'll inform you after investigating," Lu Menger said. At this time, she had become very close with Chen Xiang, and now her thoughts were mostly for the sake of Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang nodded his head, and received the black tortoise adamantal armor, and the azure dragon slaughtering devil blade. Lu Menger was the empress of the divine weapon Heavenly Empire, Of course she would have gathered information regarding the other forces, especially the free immortal sea. For this powerful influence that had suddenly appeared, she had even sent someone undercover. Sister Menger, give me a kiss. Chen Xiang pulled Lu Menger's sleeve and said with an evil laugh. Humph, do not give. Lu Menger attitude was very firm, then softly added, it is not that difficult to see us. And if we are exposed, we will definitely be in trouble.